Dear baby listener, Goat Games is produced in association with The Network. Find our show and other great podcasts at bicbp-radio.com. Also, Goat Games includes many, many spoilers for every game that we play. If you don't want the game spoiled for you, we recommend playing the game and coming back to listen to the episode afterwards. In the meantime, check out a different episode maybe, if you feel like it. All right, on to this episode.
I have all these fucking Pokemon cards all over the goddamn place.
Pokemon cards.
Dude, I have gotten so fucking addicted to Pokemon cards just out of the blue. Just out of the blue.
Hell yeah.
You got to be careful, man. You got to be careful.
Well, I haven't opened anything since like 1999 or whatever it was. And then like all of a sudden I opened a box, and that box I opened was like literally Pandora's box. Cause now it's just like, I have all these Pokemon cards now. Cause it's cool when you get like the cool ones, but then when you get like the shitty ones, which is like most of them, it's like, well, fuck, what do I do with all of these now?
If you get enough of them, there's places that'll just basically pay you by the weight.
Oh. Interesting.
Wow, holy shit.
Like
kilos, like bricks of Pokemon cards. Like,
yeah,
it's like cocaine.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, so like when I was going deep on the cards, and
so you saw the dark side too at one point.
I'm talking deep on the cards. I had
deep.
I sent like 60 pounds to like a company. And
to a reputable company in a back alley.
60 pounds of straight cards?
Straight, uncut, black tar Pokemon cards.
God.
Straight up. But like I sent them like all the commons, all the energy cards, and then like the shitty foils, not the good cards.
See, Zach, what you're doing right now is enabling me, and that's a no-no.
Hell yeah.
You're enabling my fucking Pokemon card addiction I have all of a sudden here.
Steve, let me introduce
Holy
you to Plastic
shit.
Crack.
Oh, wow.
Wait, what is that? Is that
it's
that's not
Gundam.
Pokemon.
It's a box.
It's
Okay.
a box full of parts to make a giant Gundam.
Oh, that's badass.
How giant? How giant? Is it an
bigger than
actual
your
full-size mech suit? Can you get inside it?
No.
Is it 17 feet tall?
Is it 17 feet tall?
No.
That's what I need to know.
18 inches?
Bush League.
I have something to show you. Check this out.
He's unzipping his pants.
Hold on.
Perfect replica model of me.
Oh, that's dope.
Oh, now that's a collector's item.
And you're wearing a trash bag cape, just like real
I was
life.
gonna say that looks like a dog bag.
What do you think what do you think I wear daily?
I was digging for this box.
Ooh, is that
This is
D-box?
What's in there?
This is my retirement plan.
What's
Is
in
it
it?
baseball cards?
Gold teeth?
It's better than baseball cards.
Is it food? Can I
Dragon
eat
Ball
it?
Z cards.
It's graded Pokemon cards.
Oh, what's the best one?
Oh, yeah.
Certified and everything. Holy smokes.
What's your big daddy card?
Yeah. What is that?
Oh,
Oh, that's
now
a
that's a
Charizard of
daddy
some
card.
kind.
Shiny Charizard, and it's a PSA 10.
Oh,
Oh,
shit.
these are all new
I don't know what
things.
that means.
I don't know what all
It
these
means,
Well, I know
ones
they
are.
by
only
all
grade
intents
out
and
of 10.
purposes, it was inspected under a microscope and deemed to be perfect.
Oh.
And then here's another one that's the regular Charizard.
Wait, so how much is that?
Wow.
10
Holy
10 out of 10
smokes.
worth, roughly.
The black one, $500.
Oh, now that you could
Nice.
retire off that.
You could retire off $500 for sure. So I got into Pokemon collecting when we all did. I was a child and I would go to Books A Million every single Saturday, get booster packs and trade and play. I don't know how it works anymore. I'm out of the game. I got out of that shit a long
Here's
time
my
ago.
advice to you: don't go back in. It's too
man,
dangerous.
Well, it's too depressing because at the time, this is like Gen 1. I don't know if it's actual Gen 1 or just like the first.
Are
like,
you thinking about all
print.
the good cards you've given away
I had
for
a holo
nothing?
Charizard. I had a holo Venusaur. I had a holo Blastoise. I had a holo Mewtwo. I had my mom, I believe, threw away all my Pokemon cards.
Oh no! How do we cancel this woman?
Oh, that's horrible.
I should say they all disappeared while I was gone to college.
Oh, okay.
So she either destroyed them in a fire, or gave them to some snot-nosed kid.
The dog
something.
took them when he ran away, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, when my dog ran away to go get a pack of cigarettes and never came back.
No, I had a shitload of like late 90s, early 2000s Pokemon cards, Magic cards, Dragon Ball Z cards, and somebody kifed them.
Now, one of my folders with the original 151, when I was collecting them, granted a lot of those cards, even I was a child. Don't
all of them?
Oh yeah, I've had it twice. But
what? I only have it once.
Some of those cards, because I was a kid, I printed my Pokemon Snap Pokemon because they were so awesome, and I would put them on the cards.
No.
It's only some of them. Then I learned about sleeves, and I put them on top of the cases.
Holy shit, dude! You might as well wiped your ass with them. That's so sad.
Listen, man, I didn't know any better. They were just Pokemon, and they were cool.
To be fair, Pokemon Snap slaps.
Yeah, it does. It is a crime that we are talking about card collecting, and Rob isn't here this recording because I don't know if you've watched his stream, but he gets all these like crazy, wild card collections, and okay, full disclosure, I don't know how the system works. Somehow he gives them to chat. I don't really know what goes on there, but he's like the master of obscure card collecting. Not valuable card collecting, mind you. He gets like Corey in the House cards. He gets like All My Children cards.
Yeah, I have watched him open packs of cards that shouldn't exist.
I saw he had Mario the movie cards from the 80s.
I mean, I asked him once straight up. I was like, "Where do you get these? Like, I want to get in on this, not like to stream it."
And he pulled a gun on me.
Like, I just wanted to get in on this action for entertainment purposes, and he dead ass looked me in the eyes. He's like, "I can't tell you that."
Oh wow!
And I thought he was kidding. You know, I thought, oh, he's just joking around. I was like, seriously though. And he's like, "Look, man, I can't tell you."
Oh my gosh!
Wow. Well, he's not here to defend himself, so we're just going to assume that he gets them through very nefarious, illegal means.
And then he was like, "Oh, no, I just find them in thrift stores."
No, he does not. Bullshit. Someone get Rob on the phone, because there's no way that he gets those cards at thrift stores. I've been in so many thrift stores. I've never seen an All My Children collector's card pack in a single thrift store.
No, I think he said he looks on eBay, like he just looks up like
that makes more sense.
TCG. And then if he sees something that's weird, he's just like, "Yep."
Wow.
Damn.
Jealous. I mean, I guess I'm not jealous. I could do it, but
this is why Rob's better than all of us.
I mean, I'm just going to hop on eBay real quick, and I'm just typing in the word TCG. And, oh wow, they actually have like a list off to the side. Like you can look for specific games. Oh, this looks like the honey hole. There's just a category that says not specified with 134,000 listings.
Oh my goodness.
There's 134,000 unknown.
Zach, take me there. Take me there. What's by the way, I was thinking about like, listening to our last episodes and stuff, but like I like how Zach, and no pressure to do this role all the time, is kind of like our guy in the chair. Like he's like whenever there's like information that needs to be found or like research, he's always on it. Yeah,
look that up.
Like he has the same resources we do. We're just too lazy. But he's always the one who's like,
I just can't sit still.
Yeah,
it's like you say something, I'm like, yeah, I gotta look into this shit.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got. Oh my god, there's Neptune Hyperdimension Neptunia Goddess Story trading cards. That's anime shit.
Is that sounds like a naughty anime? Is it a naughty anime? Zach, be honest.
It's very fan servicey, but
yeah,
it's like a parody of the gaming industry as told through bouncy waifus.
Gotcha. Okay.
Like there's a Sony waifu, a Xbox waifu. Like
how does Sony and Xbox feel about these portrayals?
It's parody. They can feel however the hell they want. It doesn't matter.
Fair enough.
Fuck them.
Exactly.
Slap the label parody on anything and you're good to go.
Yeah. That's how I play every song and sound effect in our podcast. Just keep saying, you guys don't hear it, but before every song or sound effect in our podcast, I just quietly whisper parody, and then like
it's a joke,
so that way they can't get it. Yeah.
Parody.
Heyo, it's Figio, and welcome to G.O.A.T Games, where we only play the best games. I'm your host, Alan Newton, and on G.O.A.T Games, we take a look at games that are widely considered the quote-unquote greatest of all time, and talk about them. Are they great? What makes them great? Or are they just overrated? Let's find out. We like to have streamers on the show whenever we can, so you can watch the hosts play the games we talk about in real time. You can find me at twitch.tv/Figgy_O. I'm joined today by Q.
What's up? Yo, what's up? I'm Q. Sorry, I was taking a drink. Sorry, I was mid-drink. Gullet full of liquids. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Hi, I'm Q. Some call me Rat. And how am I so bad at this? What am I supposed to talk about?
You just say you can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv.
Oh, yeah.
Rat.
Okay. Yeah. No, listen, you can find me on Twitch sometimes, but not very often anymore. That's rat_parade. But check this out. G.O.A.T Games got that YouTube now. So
it's true.
You can look on there for content and
it's
me.
True. There's
That's the best I got.
The first series is up of Q and I playing Mortuary Assistant, and that'll hopefully be branching out in the near future. Well done, Q. Hey, real quick.
I'm doing my best here, man.
Real quick, and I'm interrupting. Q, I'm going to leave a nice long pause in case we need to edit this out. Q, do you want to address the fact that your name is Q with like QAnon, and you're also very conspiratorially minded and stuff on the podcast? Or...
Wait, whoa, let's back this up. Are you associating me with this?
I just want,
because now it's out there in the ether.
No, I just think you should clear the air. That you are not actually
okay.
From QAnon.
All right, let's restart. Here we go.
He's not the
actual QAnon.
Here it is. Clean break. And yo, what's up? I'm Q. Definitely not QAnon. Not associated at all with the conspiracy website or theories. And let's go.
Excellent.
But you are conspiratorial.
Yeah.
I'm extremely conspiratorial. I believe nothing.
I think that just when you go by the name Q, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy of like you're going to be conspiratorial and deranged a little bit, at least a little bit.
Oh my god.
Okay.
What is my life?
Anyway, next up we have Steve.
That is me. It's the Cheese Man. My name is Steve for Cheese. You can find me on Twitch there. Although I don't think I'm gonna be streaming this month much, so maybe
Guys,
you won't find me there.
We can't.
Our whole premise is built upon streamers.
We can't be like, yeah, but I don't actually stream.
Well, what else you want me to say? I don't know. I'm Steve, and you know what? We won't talk about Twitch. I'll talk about something else. Hi, my name is Steve, and I have a dog, and I love him. There
we go. Beautiful. All right, and then last we have Zach.
Hey, I'm Zach. I stream on Twitch under the handle Zach Attacks Games. I really wanted to stream this game, but the PC version took a big shit on me, so I just played it and ignored streaming altogether.
Yeah, the PC port was not great.
we are pro streamers.
Yeah, and then also, hey, Rob's not here, so no one's here to make us look bad. And with our stream
Rob's
pitch.
the actual only one that consistently streams.
Well, no, and also just his pitch is so like polished every
I know,
time,
right?
You know what I mean?
I know.
So
I know this was our chance to shine, and we all fucked it up.
I'm actually
We all
looking
just
to
fucked
see
it
if
up.
Rob is streaming right now.
I think my intro was flawless.
He's not.
Thank you very much.
you did great. I'm proud of each of you. Well done.
I don't think any friends of the podcast are streaming, unfortunately.
Shoot us an email. Tell us how our opening pitches were out of 10.
That's right. Yeah, and let us hear your voice.
Hey guys, if you want to see us streaming more often, we're gonna start needing to see some donos coming in to the podcast. Thank you very much.
No, you piece of shit.
Guys, this is episode 5. Where's the money? Come on.
Yeah. Today, dear baby listener, we are discussing today we are discussing Bioshock.
Biodaddy.
Biodaddy, that's right. That's what they call it in the biz. And today oh my gosh, guys. Okay, I'm not gonna talk anything up or down or anything. It would be awful if I talked it down. Steve has prepared something wonderful, or he's prepared a statement for Bioshock. It'd be terrible if I was talking it down ahead of time. Like, Steve prepared this piece of shit. Get ready, buckle up. Okay, take it away, Steve.
Dear baby listener, my name is Steve Forcheese, and I am here to ask you a question. Is a man not entitled to his or her own opinion on what is or is not the GOAT game? No, says Rat Parade, it belongs to Elden Ring. No, says Super Captain Rob, it belongs to Earthbound. No, says Figgy, it belongs to God of War. No, says Zack Attacks Games, it belongs to Super Mario World. I rejected those answers. Instead, I chose something different. I chose the impossible. I chose Bioshock. Originally launched in 2007, director Ken Levine from 2K wanted to embark on a new project. Considered to be a spiritual successor to System Shock, another one of Levine's projects, Bioshock takes place in 1960 and follows protagonist Jack into an accidentally discovered underwater city, which may have been better left off undiscovered. Bioshock combines first-person shooter and RPG elements with a mixture of horror that culminates into a game that many people consider one of the greatest of all time. But is it actually? Would you kindly listen? Would you kindly dive into the ocean with us? Would you kindly embark on this journey with us to truly decide if Bioshock is one of the greatest of all time?
Chills.
10 out of 10.
Smokes, bravo.
Mic drop.
Well
I'm
done.
leaving. I'm leaving.
Thank you, Steve. Absolutely incredible. We are lucky to have you.
Quality content.
Well done.
Yeah, I don't know how we're gonna keep ramping these up. I mean, it's just one of them. Someone's just gonna have to write a full blown like opera about like the game at some point because it's just getting more and more involved.
A full animated like.
Yeah.
An animated short of the elevator pitch.
I'm gonna roll a dice. So, Zach, tell us about your experience with Bioshock. Is this your first time playing it?
No.
Tell us about your experience with Bioshock.
So, my first glimpse of Bioshock was, I want to say it was in 2006 before the game came out. So a little known fact about me, once upon a time, I wanted to be a game developer, and it may have been 2007. I mean, these years of my life were alcohol fueled and filled with late nights. But I went to E3 before it was public.
Oh, cool.
Now E3, if it ever comes back, is like a public show, but I went when it was an industry insider like trade show where you would go and try to sell games, and you would try to network within the industry, and Bioshock was there. I want to say it was 2006 because I also played Gears of War there with Cliffy B, and he's a really cool dude. But I saw it there and I thought, well, this is kind of cool. It was just a really quick like gameplay demo. I really loved the Art Deco styling of it, and I was like, this is cool. Fast forward to, I believe it came out like 2008, 2007. I was working at GameStop and had been following the game since I saw it. I worked the midnight release at the GameStop I worked at to sell it. And we actually got this really cool package from Take-Two. Because when it first came out, Bioshock was an Xbox 360 exclusive that later got ported to everything. But Take-Two sent us this really cool package that had the original style 360 faceplate in it. And it had a Big Daddy on it. And we had like lanyards that had Bioshock on them. So they gave us all this cool stuff. Like what we were supposed to do was put the faceplate on the demo 360, and then all our lanyards were supposed to be Bioshock. And it was a good time. Anyway, so my first experience actually sitting down and playing the completed game was that midnight release after I punched out, went home, booted it up, and I don't think I slept for 2 days. Like I just played it nonstop. I loved it, out of the gate. I was like, this is really cool. But I was also, some of the themes kind of went over my head the first time I played it. I was just kind of engrossed in like the graphics. It's like, this game's pretty. The art style is so good. And I missed a lot of the subtle things like my first playthrough. But I was just, when it was done, I was like, man, that was special. Like that was an experience.
Yeah.
And it was at the time, I was like, man, people are missing out. Like, you got to play Bioshock. Like, I was the biggest advocate for that game. Like, no, you have to go drop everything, play Bioshock. Really liked it. And then as I got older, I started to realize like there's a lot of people that this game really resonated with. Like, the fandom for this game is, it's huge. And the people that it click with, like, they really love this game in a way that you don't see very often. And a lot of people in games media still talk about Bioshock being like the tentpole game. Like, this is what you have to stack up to, some 15 years later. Like, that's still the game that people are chasing.
I'm trying to get that high. That Bioshock high.
Oh yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah. The joke fell flat.
Yeah. Yeah, it just wasn't worth responding to. Okay, well, at least now I know. I'd rather it be a problem with my personality than a problem with the tech.
Can you hear me? Tell me you love me. You love that, right? Please acknowledge me.
Is anyone there? Hello?
I did hear uproarious laughter. Like,
oh my God, the darkness is closing in.
Excellent. Okay. I'm rolling a dice again. Okay, Steve, you're up.
All right. So the game came out in like 2007. So I was in like 8th grade at that point. So I was a wee little cheese boy at that point. But it was like 2 years later. It was like 2 or 3 years later. So either like 2009, 2010, like somewhere around there, maybe 2011 even. I never had the 360, so I had the PS3. So eventually, like Zach said, the game got ported to the PS3. So it was my birthday the one year, and my buddy, Dan from Your Average Ordinary, go check him out. Shout outs to Dan. He actually gifted me the game. He was just like, I don't know, I heard this game was good, and I was just like, oh, that's cool. Like, sure, I'm down to try it or whatever. I don't know too much about this. So the one night he stayed over, a couple of my friends did, and like Zach, we did not sleep that entire night. We were so engrossed into the game. It was just like a perfect, like, cool thing. Like I said, we were kind of younger, so the game's a little creepy too.
Yeah.
And I just remember like staying up all night and like hacking like the robots and stuff like that, and just whacking things with the wrench. It was a fun time. And since then, I've beaten it a couple times. I love the game. Also, like Zach, I missed, some things the first time I played. As you get older, you realize, like,
more
the
bitter.
deeper. Yeah, you realize the more deeper themes behind the game that are in it or whatever. So I feel like it's one of those games that like aged with time. Well, at least for me, just because, like I said, I was younger when I played it.
It grew with you.
And I didn't know about. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, like I said, I've beaten it multiple times. I love the game. I played the sequel. I played the third game. It's an amazing series. Definitely worth checking out.
Nice. Okay. There's no 50-50 on here. Okay, well, I'm just gonna roll again till it's a one or a two. Oh, it's me. It's me. I'm number one. Okay. Dice says I go now. So yeah, this game was actually like pretty important to me in my like gaming history, my oeuvre, if you will. My game, like, it just, so after I played video games nonstop and I was a wee little fig, a little figlet. And when I was a child and then into my teenage years, and then I kind of took a little hiatus from gaming because I took up, I got pretty into like, music and stuff. And I don't know, I think I entered some kind of misconception that I kind of outgrown video games or something. Just dumb. And then in my early 20s, so I didn't play it when it came out, but I had heard through like just whispers in the grapevine that this game was like pretty great. You should check it out. And I was like, okay. And so on a family vacation, rather than spending time with my family, I got my hands on this game in my early 20s. And this was the game that kind of like reintroduced me to video games, kind of. And not just like because it was fun, but because it was, I played very story-centric games prior to that. Like I mentioned RPGs and stuff. But this game just felt so, again, to my early 20s mind, it just felt so mature. Like, and it was just trying to do something that like I had never seen video games do before. And the gameplay itself was like engaging. The world of Rapture is just incredible. Like it was just so easy to get lost in. And then like the storytelling and the themes and the of course the huge major twist was all just like so mind blowing that it almost single-handedly made me realize like, oh, I didn't know video game. So this is what video games can do. I didn't know video games could do this, and kind of brought me back into the gaming fold. And so it was pretty formative for me in my gaming history, my gaming, time. It brought me back into gaming basically. So I owe that debt to Bioshock. It was super important to me. And I think it, largely holds up. Like I've started it multiple times since then because it has some of the best opening acts of a video game. In my opinion, like it's just a very, very, very good opening act. And it's like, and it's engrossing, and it's just like, it's a great game to show people to like, hey, did you know video games are art? But I don't think I had finished it. I don't think I had done it to completion until this playthrough again. And so, yeah, I had a great time playing it, and it was extremely important to me in my gaming history. So I'm happy to cover it on the podcast. All right, Q, talk about your Bioshocking history. Tell us how you've Bioshocked.
My Bioshock story is,
ooh,
I had never played the game until about 4 years ago. Knew almost nothing about it. I remember when it came out, a few of my friends were playing it. They're like, dude, you got to play this game. This game's crazy. This game's awesome. But back in 2007, 2008, I was still a big Halo head. I was thriving in Fallout 3. Portal was out, and they were like, man, I got everything I need. I am not lacking in life. So never gave a second glance back at it until about 4 years ago. I decided to pick it up on my Xbox, and I played the first game, and then I immediately got the second game, and it was an amazing, incredible adventure. It was so engrossing. I was so impressed with how fun, how just refreshing the story was. I had a blast. I stayed up super late for a week just binging both of these games. And yeah, I mean, between then though, I didn't know anything about the game. I never played it for many, many, many years until 4 years ago. And then after I beat them, I didn't play them again until very recently. That's it.
Nice. Excellent. Yeah. Okay. So none of us are new to the game, I guess. We've all been to Rapture before. Okay, well, let's start talking about it. I'm going to start with the I guess we'll kind of do visual / the world of just, regardless of what comes out about this game in our discussion later, I just want to go on record as saying Rapture is one of the most engrossing worlds in video games and in my limited experience, like fiction in general. Rapture is just one of the coolest places I've ever seen in a video game. Yeah, so like so for most people who are listening to this podcast have probably played this game. We recommend playing the games before you listen to the podcast. But yeah, just this incredible like juxtaposition of a fallen Art Deco libertarian paradise put under the water, put underwater, and just seeing like where that takes you, like where that goes. And it's just so much attention to to style and detail in every single nook and cranny. It just everything just feels so like fully realized and lived in. Everything just feels so like you just get a real sense of this like culture and community with very little like direct exposition. You just like the story takes place shortly after the fall of this like world, and everything is just like you get an amazing sense of the way people lived, the way people like felt and thought, without even using like the audio stuff. You're just looking around, just like looking at the advertisements, looking at the art styles, the way what the splicers look like, I'm sorry, the splicers are the people who are, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably played Bioshock, what the enemies and people like look like, what they're doing, what they're wearing. And just style just like permeates everything in this game. They just went in with a singular vision of like what Rapture is, what it represents, and what it looks like. And they just like executed on this thing that's just like never been attempted before. Like you can't like so many other worlds. Sorry, I'm talking for a long time. I'll ease up in a little bit. Like so many other like game worlds, it's like as beautiful and breathtaking as they are, they're clearly taking inspiration from other things, like your fantasy worlds, your sci-fi worlds, your cyberpunk worlds, but nothing's been done like Rapture before. I mean, Art Deco is obviously a stylistic choice that has happened in real life, but to my knowledge, nothing looks like Rapture, and I just think was such an amazing.
They absolutely smashed it out of the park from the get-go to the first few hours of playing the game, at realizing and establishing an entire living, breathing, full world. Like you are completely correct that the moment it's that Rapture is revealed from the sub or whatever that little pod is, to getting inside and learning the pulse of the city and the sort of the nightlife, the day life, the politics, how people live, between that and just how well every nook and cranny and spatial area is so. There is no part of when you're looking around in this game that is unfinished. You look outside of any tube across the way, and like everything is so well designed. They put so much tender loving care into designing this entire city to feel lived in, breathed in, and it is immaculate. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's incredible, breathtaking. Yeah, and I love, and so not only is the world so visually appealing, but each area tells the story of its like, well, not each area, because some areas don't have like a boss or whatever. He tells the story of like this like one segment of Rapture. So like the first area being essentially the hospital, and just like Rapture's people's obsession with aesthetics, and which it's a mirror of our own society, I suppose. And just this Dr. Steinman like going nuts. So for those of you dear baby listener, if you haven't played, you start off trying to get through this like underwater city led by this person named Atlas who's over a radio. And you start in the first areas and you're going through the city, basically seeing like Rapture, this city named Rapture underneath the water. And one of the first places you go through is the medical pavilion, and you're being like, antagonized by this Dr. Steinman, who is a plastic surgeon. And because of the advances of like Adam and this genetic altering material, he's able to do things like with people's like appearances that you can like have never been done. And you're going through this place and just seeing like the first thing you like you open up when you like is this in this like stark like noir black like lighting of just like do no harm and just like this like trail of blood and just like everything about the presentation of like of this world is just like so engrossing, both for telling like the city itself and also just like the characters there.
I think one thing I'd like to point out, which is that you just mentioned, which is really awesome about how they fleshed out such a believable environment and made it feel so lived in and real, is every level, every area you go in Rapture is like a different industrial district of something. It basically, you can see how this whole society works and is believable. You have your medical area, then you move on to, you have like entertainment, you have the fishing district where they like get their food, then you have the housing district. Like all these things work in a circle and kind of make this well-oiled machine and how it works, and you get to see each part and each little portion of this city and this society and how it operates. And it makes it a very believable, realistic, well fleshed out environment, which is a really choice. It's really cool.
Each area tells you about the culture of Rapture. Each area isn't just a level. Each area is an explanation. So like, yeah. And each area expounds on both the plot of the two of all the main characters, which we can talk about in a little bit, who I thought were very well realized, and also just expounds on just like the day-to-day life of these people, like what Rapture represents.
I can't think of a more memorable opening 10 minutes of a game when I try. Like, I just, sitting on the plane, it really sets the tone. You kind of get a feel like, okay, it's 1960. Okay, this is cool. And then all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose. And that first time you walk up the steps is just kind of like, oh, what's going on? Like, okay. And I mean, obviously, we knew it's an underwater city from the marketing. Like, that wasn't a secret that you were going to a city underwater. And yet somehow it was still extremely memorable the first time you take the bathysphere down. And that first view of Rapture, and you're just like,
oh my gosh,
wow.
Because before then, you really couldn't imagine what that would look like. And they did so good at awing you.
And you just, like, you see the sperm whale. I think it's a sperm whale, or you see a whale of some kind.
A whale.
And then you see, like, the giant
sperm or otherwise.
The giant squid that's down there. And then all of a sudden, it's just like, this is like Manhattan underwater. And then your mind goes, well, how would you do this? How would you do that? And then you see all the tubes that are going everywhere. You're like, oh, okay. And it's just, the minute you get to Rapture, you're like, something's wrong. Like something is wrong. And, I remember my first playthrough thinking like, man, I got bamboozled. Like I figured, hey, this is going to be like a sci-fi game. The tone's going to be more on, like sci-fi. And then I was like, this is a horror game. Like this is terrifying.
Yeah. It's scarier than I remember.
I remember watching Rat stream it and he's like, holy shit, this game's terrifying. I was like, yeah, man, this is a horror game straight up.
Like, the first half of this game scared the hell out of me, and I don't remember it being that scary. It was very
like I remember like I remember thinking like, yeah, the stuff with the doctor, like that's scary. But then I like playing it now, it's like, man, this is terrifying. Like it's just such a sense of like claustrophobia that you never know what's going to be around the next corner. And then the first time you see a Big Daddy, you're just like, what is that? Like, how do I kill it?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, the design of the Big Daddy, it's such a good video game monster.
Yeah, I still have
such a good,
I still have the model. I think they gave out like a 6 or 7 inch model with the collector's edition for Xbox. I still have that thing.
Yeah, good for you, man. That thing kicks
Big Daddy
ass.
definitely
Like, there's
belongs,
so few video game monsters.
Yeah,
that
like
have,
top 10, absolutely iconic, stole the show. You talk about Big Daddy, everyone knows what you're talking about. You can't confuse him with anything else. He's such an incredible monster.
I think he stands the test of time in visuals in movies too. Like, I mean, like, I think he's up there with like the Xenomorph with his design.
It's
like,
iconic.
He is the Big Daddy. It's amazing, especially like with the weird relationship with the Big Daddy and the little sisters, and just what that, and then how that like reflects also in like Rapture's like priorities. Like everything is in service to like telling like how do these people think about like how does this philosophical difference between Andrew Ryan and Atlas and just this vision of Andrew Ryan, and everything is in service to just like this is what happens when like, you know, objectivism gets taken too far, when like liberty, we're going to have to talk about a little bit of politics. I try to avoid it on the podcast, but it's kind of inevitable with this. I mean,
I feel like it's
like when objectivists,
just avoiding personal politics, you can objectively talk about the game's politics.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And just like what happens when like objective Aunt Randian libertarianism goes too far, and it literally breeds monsters. It literally abuses and takes control of children and breeds monsters. And like, in that horror is reflected so well in the design, and it ruins the people. Like, I think part of the atmosphere of that horror is the design of I almost called
tweakers.
I almost called them tweakers. I shouldn't say that, because that's actually a critique I have of how they handle essentially drug addiction. But the design of the splicers, and just like how like it's a special kind of scary, because it's like it's scary because like they're coming at me and they look terrifying, but it's also scary because like they were people, like it's that special kind of like scary of like, like this could be like anybody. These people had lives. It's just a special kind of brand of like scariness. Yeah, everything looks like this world is just so incredible. Steve, anything you wanted to add in that regard?
Yeah. Well, like just building off what you just said there, like, it could be anyone. Like, I don't know, maybe this is we're diving into the mind of Steve here, but
I think we should. I think this game warrants like a little bit.
I remember like one time, I was really young. I was like 6 or something, and me and my dad were just like walking around in Toronto, I believe it was. And we walked past this lady who was drunk out of her mind.
Yeah,
she was drunk out of her mind, but she said something to like my dad, like, "I should knock your face in right now." And we just like walked by her, but that stuck with me because that was just like, whoa! Like I'm a little kid, like that was terrifying.
Yeah,
to
for
me.
a kid, that's
what I mean. And that's kind of the horror they bring with this type of game, because like it could be anyone. That's the type of stuff they were saying in the game.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
It was just like that kind of mentality. But yeah, I mean, the game looks great. I know we're talking about visuals and stuff. The game looks great. I love Rapture. It's an amazing place. You talk about Underwater City, and it's just like, okay, whatever. But I think once you like really dive into the themes behind it all and everything, that's what makes it special. It's a very believable place. It's one of the coolest places in video games. I totally agree with that. It's definitely special. I think in terms of graphics, the game looks pretty good. It's got this weird style where it's like realistic, but also kind of cartoony.
Yeah,
in a sense.
Yeah, it's like it has a very, very, very light. I don't know if you'd call it cell shaded, but like it's very.
Yeah, it's something. Yeah, something
which I think
about
helps,
it that makes it.
Which I think helps preserve it.
Absolutely.
In time. Like, it makes it timeless.
I love it. Yeah. Yep, exactly. Yeah, because I think if they lean more towards realism, some games do that, like Call of Duty. Like that's one of them. You play an old Call of Duty nowadays, and it's just like, wow, this kind of looks a little.
Yeah. Well, there's
but we just played Super Mario World and we were gushing over the graphics in that game. So I definitely think the art style works. Like I said, it's mostly realism, but it does flesh in that little bit of cell shading.
I mean,
I guess
it just it really leans into like kind of like a 40s and 50s noir type aesthetic.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there's really like obviously the architecture's Art Deco, but I don't know if there's like a word that would perfectly describe like the overall aesthetic of the game. Like I think it's more apparent in like Bioshock Infinite, where they kind of exaggerate the features.
It's almost graphic novel-esque.
Yeah.
Which is why it can really
Yeah.
hold up to today, because it's such a unique style where it doesn't exactly feel outdated, because it has that comic-y, cartoony sort of look.
Yeah, and because it threads the needle so well of being realistic enough to be terrifying, but be, abstract enough to where it exists in your imagination still. Like, you know what I mean? Like things that are like kind of like what Steve was saying, things that try really hard to be realistic.
They don't hold up over time.
They don't hold up over time, and they're put up against they're put up against actual reality. Right. And and any time you can let the player or viewer or reader or whatever imagine things or fill in gaps, that's almost always more effective. I mean, in this game, like, does it so well because like everything's just a little bit more exaggerated. Everything's just, which again kind of ties back into the theme, right? Like, of like, Rapture is a realm of excess. It's a world where like everything is just a little too much, and look what that does. Like, look at what society, like, look at what that does to society. Whether or not they were considering that when they were determining the art style or not, I don't know, but it certainly fits. Like, everything is just a little too much. It's just a little too cartoony. Like, it feels real, but not completely real. And I think the results like are fantastic.
I think the way they designed the areas with like the lighting too is amazing. It definitely adds into the horror aspect. You got the strobe lights and times, and they know when to shut off the lights at the right parts and stuff. Just to get you in that that mood. The city is underwater. So the little lights they have, it just all makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, the lighting they have in this underwater city fits. I've never been in an underwater city, but it works.
Really recommend
it works. I know. Oh,
yeah,
really? Yeah. You know a place? Yeah, I don't know.
Totally. No, 100%. And I want to go, and what you were saying before about both Steve and Zach kind of touched on this about the opening being so like visually amazing and shocking, right? Like, the very, very famous intro to Bioshock. I think it's important to note that like that big reveal, that big like holy shit moment is tied to Andrew Ryan's philosophy. That voiceover explains what Rapture was, and it keeps coming up because you kind of like Steve even kind of like said what Andrew Ryan wants you to think of, like, I kind of like pictured an underwater society, but I didn't really know like what that would actually look like or feel like, and then because it's like it's married so closely to Andrew Ryan's vision. Like, there was no place for me, so I built one. Like, there was no country for me, so I made one. And then like that same vision is like revealed to you, maybe like it was like to Andrew Ryan, of just like this like incredible like revelation.
What was Andrew's quote? People thought it would be impossible to build Rapture under the sea.
To build a city at the bottom of the sea, insanity. But where else could we be free from the clutching hand of the parasites? Where else could we build an economy that they would not try to control, a society that they would not try to destroy? It was not impossible to build rapture at the bottom of the sea. It was impossible to build it anywhere else.
But it was impossible to build it anywhere else.
So good. Oh man, the writing in this game
is very good.
We're gonna talk about it. So good. But yeah, it is still and conversely, one of the only other places that to me feels as amazing looking and as lived in is Bioshock Infinite. I have lots of negative things to say about this game and also Infinite. I don't think they're perfect games at all. We'll get into that. But like one thing that these developers nail, 2K Australia, right? 2K? I don't know. 2K something.
2K was the publisher. And I believe 2K Boston and Australia worked on the game specifically. But the team was composed of a bunch of Ken Levine's or Ken Levine, I forget how you say it. But it was the design team was a bunch of former members from the studio Looking Glass Studios, and they had worked on System Shock. So it was like they had familiarity with each other, but this was like after the studio shut down or they were bought out by 2K. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but at some point, they were associated with 2K.
Our guy in the chair. Well done, Zach. Which I'm not making fun of. No, thank you truly for the context. I just love that you are our guy in the chair. I do my best. The guy
He's so quick on the draw too.
Yeah, I know.
I usually have like 15 or 20 tabs queued up, like just ready to go.
Yeah. I won't ask what's in those tabs, but very few other games make worlds as well as this team. Whatever you want to say about the other ones, it's just, I think this is, if you want to study world building, particularly world building in video games, but I would even argue just world building in general, particularly with visual design as well, I think there's very few other examples that like do it as well. Okay.
Can we talk about the audio of the game?
We can totally talk about the audio. Whatever you want,
I would love to talk about the audio.
Whatever Steve wants to get.
Can I say the audio in this game, everything. This might be the greatest like use of audio in a video game I've ever played. Maybe.
Okay, that's some high praise
that
right there.
But it's everything. It's the music. It's the 60s music that, they intertwine to make it feel like it's, this is the real world. They got real life songs. I'm hearing Oh Danny Boy in the background and the ink spots or whatever they are. It's amazing.
I will say really quick, Steve, I don't want to interrupt you on your tear. If I had to hear, I don't know if it was just my playthrough, but if I had to hear that song, Mama Loves Mambo, Mama Loves Mambo, I heard that song I don't know if it was just my playthrough and I just got unlucky with RNG, but I kept hearing that song like a fucking like Telltale Heart, like a splinter in my brain. Every room I went in was playing Mama Loves Mambo. It could have just been RNG, but
they just wanted you to know that Mama loves Mambo.
This is the thesis of
really
the game.
Wanted you to know that.
Is that Mambo loves Mambo. Okay, Steve, go ahead. Sorry, but yes, no, everything you're saying is 100% true.
It's not even that though. It's just everything. It's the splicers talking in your ear, whispering.
You're alone. Just a child. I just want some company.
Setting the sound. It's when you're shooting your gun. It sounds like you're shooting your gun in a submarine, just with the echoes and everything. You're underwater, you're shooting a gun. You hear that like that noise of like, man, this is really loud and echoey because that's what it is. It's everything with this game. It's like I said, the opening part of what makes that opening so great is the voiceover. The voice acting's amazing. The music they have with it's amazing. The crackling in the voices and everything with the audio logs and everything. It's incredible.
With that voice acting, I mean, all of the voice acting was so well done. But as far as just generic NPCs go, I mean, they nailed it. And I will tell you, atmospherically, I will never hear Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so.
Oh my gosh!
Without feeling so haunted, crouching around the corners, and they're just singing it, losing their mind, swiping around with their little crowbars or whatnot, and it's so good. It delivers. It's so well done.
Yeah, and I mean, like, and none of them sing on key. It's just none of them can sing.
That's what makes it so good.
It would have been great if it would have been great if it's like all this creepy, like off key, like, and then just one person's just like, like, oh, that guy can sing.
Yeah, no, they didn't make it like a child's lullaby tune that's kind of in your ears. It's just like some dude who's just like, Jesus loves me, this I know.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh my god, he's insane. I can't let him find me.
That's the other thing, like the little sisters, like, oh, Mr.
Oh my God.
Yes,
like
Mr. Bubble.
It's so good. The noises the big daddies make, where they're just like,
It's full of Adam. I can see the angels dancing. Time for more Adam.
you know, it's everything is so good in that.
Everything is so terrifying and just eerie. Yeah, the little sisters.
It's a big part of the world building is the audio
Of course.
in that game.
100%. Yeah, I mean,
It goes hand in hand with the visuals.
And what I love about the NPCs audio is that the game just always makes it clear that like you're a fucking visitor here. Like this is not your world. Like all the NPCs, even though they're, at this point in their decline of rapture, they're all out of their minds or whatever, they are existing outside of you. They're all having conversations. They are all like, you are just like happening in on their like murmurings in their lives and stuff. I mean, lives, what's left of them. Like the game never lets you feel at home. I think part of that, you always feel unsettled. And I think part of that is just that like the people here are like ignoring you and then they're attacking you. They are living their lives. They are living what's left of like their minds' lives. What's left of their minds.
And essentially you are thrown into what is basically the middle of a civil war right now. And you are the outsider who doesn't know
the end of
the
one.
politics of the sides, and you are a hostile to anybody right now. Like there is so much going on behind the scenes of why Rapture is what it looks like right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And as Steve was saying, like the game also with both the music and the audio design just puts you in a time and place of you are like the as Steve mentioned, the use of like real music just like teleports you to a time. And then the sound design of the stuff too, like all the music is record scratching and tape saturation, all this other stuff that like just completely immerses you in like in not only a place but a time. If the visuals put you in a place, the audio puts you in a time often. And and it's very effective. It's just the atmosphere is just impeccable. The vibes are immaculate, as the kids say.
I loved the use of real world music in the game. I remember, we played I can't think of the actual name of the song, but Mama
Loves Mambo,
Beyond the Sea. We would play that on loop because we're just like, this is awesome. Like obviously
that's the perfect song to introduce you to the game
but I thought
when you're in the
original
lighthouse
score was also really good. Like you could get the clear influences of like 30s, 40s, and 50s music going on. Outside the music though, like just the sound design itself, like that's like what like a lot of games are gonna just be they're gonna live or die based off of sound design, especially a game like Bioshock where it can either pull you into the world or it can take you out so fast. And just the sound design of the world itself is just, it's fascinating, but it's also terrifying. Like just the way the game sounds when you're playing it, you're just like, it gives you that sense of, I don't know what's around the next corner and I don't know if I want to know. what's around the next corner. But yeah, I just think it's a master class in sound design.
Building off what Zach said with like the hectic vibes.
There we go.
of
You got
the
it.
game. Yeah. You know, when you're in a fight with someone and you're shooting your gun and they're shooting their gun, it's just like there's all sorts of sounds, and then you got your hacked little robots like buzzing around, and you know,
Yeah.
you know, like it's just it creates that hectic vibe.
It also, you know, it makes
the
it
sound
feel
of
like you're in a
everything,
place
too.
that's lived in, which a lot of things that go into like the sci-fi-ish realm, like they forget that part. You know, like this is like, you know, like Blade Runner. When you watch Blade Runner, you have no doubt that 2019 Los Angeles, that's a lived-in shell of a former city, versus like watching Star Trek where everything's just so sterile and clean, and it just kind of like
Yeah. I thought you were about to shit on Blade Runner. I was like, that is going to be a hot fucking
No,
take. I thought you were going to use Blade Runner as the
no.
excuse of what not to do. And I was like, whoa.
Blade Runner is probably like one of the most influential medias on my life. Like, I love that. No, I'm never gonna shit on that.
Yeah, no. Yeah. One little, it's not a quibble. I'm wondering if it's intentional or not. I don't know if it's a limitation of the technology at the time, which it very well may be. And I want to emphasize, dear baby listener, this is not a big deal. It does not affect the value of the game. I felt like the directionality, okay, not from a creepy, again, we've talked so much about the vibe and the setting and just how that affects you like emotionally and stuff. I felt like the directionality of the voices was often fucked up on the PC version, at least, to where like I'm really used to in video games, particularly video games that like, you know, emphasize precision, of being able to use my headphones and directionality to know where enemies are. And I don't know if, and again, this is actually kind of makes it creepier because you don't really know where things are and they kind of spring up on you. So maybe it was intentional, but I never, like, I would like go to where a voice in my, and again, I don't know how much of this is real or in my deranged head. I would go to where I think a voice would be and it wouldn't be there. And like, and then I would turn around and it would be somewhere else. Like, you know, is what I'm saying making sense? Like the spatial audio seemed
like the mixing of it's like like something was like off where like something that should be on the left was on the right type deal.
Kind of. Yes, exactly. Yeah, kind of. So yeah. And for hardcore gamers like myself who play hardcore games, like competitive, I mean, it is a thing in competitive gaming. Obviously, this is not.
I did not really notice that, at least.
I mean, I like the PC version was notorious. And I believe
Yeah, the PC version was also a giant steaming pile of shit.
And,
like, I had so many issues running.
And I believe,
game.
like, you played it on PC for your latest playthrough, correct?
The entire time. Yeah, it could have just been a bad port.
So, like, I would not be surprised if this was just something that happened because it's the PC version. I don't remember any really glaring issues, but I mean, we're talking, you know, playing it on the Xbox 360 15 years ago. There was no critical bug that I can recall. I'm sure there were frame rate issues, but playing it on PC, I was just kind of shocked at like how bad the PC port is.
Yeah, it was really
Console
rough.
gamers for the win.
Like,
what did you say, Steve? What did you say?
I was just gloating.
No,
I was
gloat.
just gloating being
Gloat
a console.
louder.
Yeah,
I couldn't hear your
just
gloat.
gloating being a console gamer.
Oh yeah,
because I'm
gloat
PC
games.
illiterate and I don't gloat games. This was the first time I played it on the PS4, like the remaster, because I played it like a million times on the PS3.
Yeah,
but I was just like, I'm too lazy to hook up my PlayStation, and my whole goal was like, yeah, I'm gonna get back into streaming, and I'm gonna stream Bioshock, and I could not get it to work to stream it.
I struggle,
but my biggest issue is that my setup for PC gaming, I use an ultra wide monitor, and it did not like that at all.
See, I didn't have any issues getting it to run on my. I maybe had one little snaggle like in the first 20 minutes, and then I didn't have anything going on with my PC version.
Well, Q, that's because your PC is basically just a Tamagotchi. Like it's just like
it's period appropriate hardware.
I'm just kidding.
Is it now?
I'm just kidding. Yeah, exactly. No, your PC is great. I'm just joking. I'm just being a dick.
But and then like I think a lot of it was I played the Steam version and I wanted to
that's what I played
like
as well.
I have a regular widescreen monitor that I tried to get the game to play on, and Steam was just like, yeah, we're not gonna do that. Like this is your main display.
Yeah. And I also tried to play it on. Okay, so by the way, I got a Steam Deck.
Oh,
Look at you.
rich boy.
Oh.
Yeah, I know.
All fancy
I know.
lad.
Well,
Oh.
I signed up for the the pre-order because they were like limited supply for a long time, and I was like, well, okay, I want to get in line for it. I know it's gonna take months, and then like 2 weeks later, they're like, it's up. You have a day to decide, and I was like, well, I don't want to lose my spot.
Wait a minute. Did you have it when I was over last week?
Yeah, man.
Why? You didn't show me?
Yo, sweet fucking invite. Jesus.
I wanted to hold that hefty
And
bad
yeah, but
boy.
this game refused to play on the Steam Deck for whatever it's worth. If any listeners are curious. Okay, but we were kind of talking about audio and how it affected gameplay, so I think that's a good transition
Hold on.
to talking about
Before
the
we
game.
leave off
Okay.
audio, I cannot not
Okay.
mention
Go ahead.
one
mention.
of the most satisfying, greatest moments in gaming, maybe top 20, was just
Okay.
before you met Sander Cohen and he plays the Waltz
Okay.
of the Flower while sending in the splicers.
Oh yeah.
It was such an emotional, amazing / terrifying scene that it was one of the I would replay that scene 24 times.
Yeah.
It was
So
so,
good.
flawlessly done. Just the choice of music and the way, the decor, the atmosphere, the fighting for your life with the splicers coming in left and right on all angles. It was such an experience when I played that the first time, and it was that music that just like drove it home. It was so well done. It's one of my favorite moments
Sander Cohen's
in
area.
the entire game. That moment right there.
Sander Cohen's
Yeah,
area
he's
in
like the
general was
coolest
so
guy.
cool.
Yeah.
It feels like maybe the most fleshed out, like at least the most unique, eye-catching.
That and the
place.
medical pavilion feel like the two.
Well, it's kind of cool. I mean, not to shit on artists or whatever, because I'm
No,
not.
yeah,
but,
shit on artists. We're only an art
They,
critique
they have the whack. They have a certain particular mindset. That some people just don't have, which is me.
Yeah.
But when you mix that with like the whole like quote unquote drug addiction, it just is like a whole side of wacky that's just like, whoa, this is
Yeah, well, I think there's something to be said.
like
for,
I want to paper mache people. Like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, well, I think that's like saying, like, I mean, because Andrew Ryan's whole thing is like, we're gonna take off constraints. Morality is like essentially false. Like, that's him, not me, saying that. And what happens if you just let the ultimate survival of the fittest? What happens if you take away morality, take away rules, and and the game wants to address this is what happens to every echelon of society: the artist, the scientist. This is actually his actual speech. I don't know. I can't remember the exact order, but like the artist, the scientist, the the doctor, this is what happens. And it's just like this. I think it just illustrates that this philosophy is poison. Like this is like nothing is safe from it. I think is kind of like what it's getting at. And also it's just like an excuse for the developers to get wacky and weird, like Sander Cohen's area was. I feel like there's. Oh, sound design. Okay, well, since one other thing about sound design is the introduction when you first get the pistol, like early on, like again, this is still would be like the intro to the game when like the woman
creepy
is
lady
like,
with the
talking
baby
to her baby
or the carriage.
Yep, that's such a good it's such a good like confluence of the visuals and audio, because you get this visual of this lady like stooping over her crib with these like huge stark shadows, and you hear her talking to her baby in this like deranged voice. And at this point, you know very little about the world, and then you realize she's been like talking to a gun. Just this deranged woman like talking to this pistol like it's her child, and it's just such like a
and isn't that a beautiful
picture
picture of America? and American society.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
My
It
sweet,
really is.
sweet baby.
It really
I
is.
love you.
Sold my baby for my Glock. I'm gonna write a song called "I Sold My Baby for My Glock."
That's good.
Okay. Let's talk about the gameplay. So gameplay. I think. Does anyone else want to open up the floor about the gameplay, or should I start rambling?
I mean, I guess I'll go. As far as like the gameplay goes, it's nothing special. I've like even the developers have said it needed 6 more months. They were in a rush to get the game out before Halo 3. That was one of their initiatives. That's, it came out weeks before Halo 3. And they by their own admission were like, yeah, it needed a little bit more polish. I absolutely hated the puzzles. But that's like a trend with me in games. Like I hate forced puzzles because to me it's artificial length that I don't think you really need, honestly.
Are you talking about the hacking? The tubes, the fucking tubes?
That was like whatever.
It took a while,
but like I would say like, the rest of the game makes up for the gameplay itself. Like I can't think of anything unique, that's like when you think of like Bioshock, like, oh, this is something that came out in Bioshock. Because a lot of the game was lifted from System Shock 2, which was the previous game that they'd made.
Did anyone play that?
Yeah, it's worth checking out. The first game's actually, I think it's still being worked on, but they're doing a remaster of it. I'm not sure what the state of that is. But if you liked Bioshock, they're worth checking out. It's like Bioshock in space. Like it's but they're a little dated. But if you enjoyed Bioshock, you would probably enjoy it. At the very least, you could take a look at like the story.
It's a little more RPG-ish too, isn't it?
A little, yeah. But like the core, like there's a lot of similarities, like slight spoilers. It's like in System Shock 2, there's a character that's a lot like Atlas. I'm not going to go into more than that. If you do decide to play it, doo-doo. But yeah, like I think a lot of it though is like you'd be surprised at how little money was given in the development of Bioshock. Like they had a final budget of only $25 million to make this game. To put that into perspective, for 2007, the marketing budget for Halo 3 was $40 million. The marketing budget was more than the development budget.
The whole shebang. Yeah.
But, I don't think it holds the game back. And I'm not saying that the gameplay itself is bad. It's just not memorable to me. Like when I think of Bioshock, I don't think about beating things with the wrench. I don't think about shooting things with the guns or even using the plasmids. I just think about the atmosphere of the game and the story.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. That's really good that you bring the context of it being like them not having the budget or time to really flesh out the gameplay as they wanted, because
there's actually like this game, like the story behind the development of Bioshock is actually really it's really fascinating because it actually had a ton of publisher interference.
Yeah, I my understanding is it was a pretty harrowing development cycle for them. But it is good to bring that into light, because I did feel like the gameplay was holding this game back. Not enough to where I would say it like ruined the game or anything like that, but I definitely think it's the weakest aspect of the game. Some positives, I mean, the plasmids are fucking cool. I thought the plasmids felt great. That's obviously where it stands out. I think this game did plasmids better than Infinite, and I want to say 2 as well. My memory of 2 is very fuzzy. I don't know.
It's very similar.
Yeah, I mean, he plays like a big daddy, if I remember correctly. But I mean, the first person shooter mechanics felt fine, I guess. Like, I'm not an expert on the genre, really. Like, they felt fine. They were they felt pretty simple. Like, they felt like, like we don't want the first person shooter mechanics to get in the way, so we're going to make them very accessible. which is fine. Like I'm okay if a game wants to tell us. And again, I played it on normal difficulty, so can't speak to everything as far as
you use save states.
Yeah, the whole time. I spent dozens of hours to get save states for a game that, okay, thank you for that's going to springboard me into my next point, doesn't fucking need save states because death means nothing in this game. That was my biggest complaint with the gameplay, is that there's no consequence for dying, which I'm fine if a game... It's like they wanted you to feel like something mattered because you were losing money, but then nothing happened, to my knowledge, if you lose all of your money. And so every time you die, you go back to like a 5-second walk from where you just were. Your progress is all the same. The enemy's health has not changed. You just walk back and pick up where you left off. And so, I mean, I'm not a glutton for punishment. I like a lot of very easy games. Like, I also like difficult games. You know, I'm not like a get good fucking like, you know, if it's not hard, it's not worth playing. But I just feel like they could have come up what were they called? The
Vita chambers.
The Vita chambers. Yeah. I just felt like they could have like done something to make it to where dying felt more had greater stakes. I love the in-game explanation for why you're the only one who's allowed to use them. Again, narratively, no issues there. Really cool device. Again, everything is in service to the narrative and to the world. So that's great. But mechanically, it just turned fights into not being this exciting back and forth or this like scary, but just like a slog. Like, oh, all right, I'm gonna fight a big daddy. Sometimes I would kill a big daddy without dying. It's like, oh, I died. Okay, well, let's walk back.
Listen,
just go back to your task.
To the king of all games, Elden Ring. Bioshock can be as easy or as difficult as you want it to be. Vita chambers are an option.
Okay, what do you mean?
I'm just saying.
Are an option? Can you turn them off?
I'm just saying.
No fucking way. No fucking way you can turn off Vita chambers? What happens if you turn them off? Are they just permadeath? Because that's way too hard.
You go to your last save.
I did not realize that. Did anyone play that way?
I did because I had to get some of my achievements.
Oh. I did not realize that. Okay. Well, then you're back to save scumming because saving is not unlimited. So now I'm back home, baby.
Oh, so I will say this as far as combat, maybe it felt okay enough. Everything felt good enough. But I will say one thing that they did so well was how they married the two systems of a shooter with RPG elements in the upgrades and the plasmids that you can put together and mix match. I think that creates so many different play styles of playing the game where the plasmids are so unique and so well made that you could essentially play every single playthrough completely different with a mix match of plasmids and how you design, like how you could be a hacker, you could be, you know, somebody who freezes or shocks and uses your wrench. You could use Big Daddy for the majority of it. You could, you know, just use the fire, which was super OP, and just melt everything. Like they really, really, really did a good job with the way you can upgrade your abilities to make it unique experience as far as fighting style goes for how you approach the game. Whether or not that was, you know, the guns super mediocre as far as, you know, aiming, shooting, recoil, all that stuff goes, but combat wise, they did do a really good job at giving you the options to create a unique experience many, many times. I will give them that.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. I mean, the plasmid system definitely seems to be the crowning jewel gameplay wise. Honestly, we could have just done without the guns and just made it all about splicing. I mean, I'll never get sick of watching this guy just jam a used syringe into his arm over and over and over again as I just use plasmid after plasmid. But yeah, and also as Zach mentioned, the hacking sucks. The tube game, the fucking 1998 screensaver like Windows game that you have to play like over and over and over again. I guess you could. I don't know if just my strat. I don't know. I don't know if you like. I'm sure you can get by with like hacking very little, but I was hacking constantly, and every time I would just scream the fucking tubes.
Yeah,
I
hacked everything I possibly could always, and it was actually really fun for the first quarter of the game. At most, and then it was extremely tedious. What they really could have done is progressed the hacking system as you progress through the game. They could have, like, basically everything you got at the first hack was what you had at the last hack, and that is where it just became tedious. Like by the end of my playthrough, I didn't even need any of the upgrades to help me with hacking. I just knew the system. I knew the formula, how it worked. You just boom, 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 repetitive, boring, super not very fun when you're on your 857th hack of your playthrough.
Yeah, here was the dynamic I ran into. So I did not find the combat that challenging because, I mean, I guess I didn't know about the fact that you could turn them off, but death meant nothing. Death is only the beginning. And I hated hacking so much that I never bought ammo. Like I'll fucking beat a large father with my wrench, or Big Daddy with my wrench, if I have to, and have no guns. But I will buy every auto hack I can because I do not want to deal with hacking anymore. So yeah, but Zach's point about it being like essentially unfinished to the extent that they wanted, like who knows what they could have done with hacking. I'm trying to remember what
they
later
fixed it in 2.
did. I'm trying to remember what. Oh, that's exactly what I was saying.
There was like a little meter, and you had to stop it in the green, and that was it.
That sounds much better.
There was like a green little window you had to like. And the needle would go back and forth like a windshield wiper, and you'd have to stop it in the green little window, and then that was it. I think, if I remember correctly. I do agree the hacking was way too long. It is tedious and everything. Like Rat said, it's fun the first.
I mean, it was a really fun, good, unique idea, but it needed to be improvised throughout the playthrough or less prominent because then it was just so tedious.
Well, like you said too, you eventually just like you get used to like a system of doing it, and it's just like, all right, it doesn't even become hard. It like the hardest hacks are still just like
it's
whatever,
just annoying,
you know. Yeah, and then like even if you screw it up, they take like a little bit of damage, and then like Figgy said, like damage doesn't even really matter because if you die,
well, get this, I learned that the shock damage from failing a hack will never kill you. So I would be on hacks, especially for some of the
I do remember
what were the challenge missions that were on the special edition where you had to like save the little girls,
like save protect the little sister.
What were the the little sister missions? There were some of them where you had to hack and stuff, and you couldn't have any upgrades. And I realized at 0 health or 1 HP, I could keep hacking this machine and it would keep shocking me and I wouldn't die. So I was like, oh, fuck yeah, I'm going to get through this. So, 6 or 7 hacks in a row, boom, got it, nailed it. Mission accomplished.
And it, go ahead, Steve.
Well, I was just going to say, like, I'll talk a little about the gameplay. Like, I agree, like, the gunplay is not anything special. It's actually kind of bad in a way. I do like the upgrading system with the guns though. Like, oh, you got to find the people.
Power to the people.
Yeah. It's just like it's whatever. I will say the gunplay in this is better than it is in Infinite. I hated the way they did it in Infinite. I like the weapon wheel. I like having your gun and keeping your gun the entire game and upgrading your gun. I will say the like building off what Rat said with like the RPG elements. But the like it is cool. The plasmid upgrades and everything. That's definitely what stands out most about the game in terms of gameplay.
Totally.
I feel like how God of War kind of like forced RPG elements into the game and it didn't work. Like this, I feel like the exact opposite. It did work.
It thrived off of the RPG.
Yeah, it made the game more fun. upgrading your plasmids and your perks and your guns and everything. It felt right. Unlike God of War, where it's just kind of like, your armor is weird to upgrade, but whatever. But yeah.
No, totally. Yeah, this game thrives off of the RPG mechanics. It's what makes the gameplay fun. If you take away the plasmids, the gunplay is lame. And if you take away the variety that the RPG system kind of brings into the plasmids, they become stale too. So the plasmids were well done. I think they were better done in this game than I remember them being in Infinite, and I don't recall much about them in Bioshock 2. But
I think in Infinite, if I remember correctly, they weren't much different.
No, they weren't different.
From my experience.
I think honestly what it is I remember their existence in Infinite being a lot more like ham-fisted in. I mean, they explain it with like the splitting dimensions.
Yeah,
and
that's
stuff.
another cool thing about the game. I guess we could talk about it. Even like the plasmids, like, oh yeah, I can see this having a use in real life. Like, oh, you want to light your cigarette? Here, just use Incinerate and just snap your fingers, and there's a little flame, and you can light your own cigarette, and you're good to go. Look how convenient it is in Rapture.
Again, the world building's insane. Everything about everything, every little thing is just kind of like how we talked about in God of War about every single thing being in service to the kind of character building of these two characters and the story there. This one's everything is in service to the world building, and everything is it's just like including like every mechanic. It's great. That part, that aspect of it is good, even if the mechanics themselves are kind of lackluster. So speaking of which, any other things to say about the mechanics before we barrel down into the story and kind of narrative and kind of that whole?
We're not talking about bugs yet, right?
Sorry?
We're not talking about like
PC bugs
yet.
Oh, those kinds of bugs. I think you meant like the bees. I think you meant like the bees plasmid. I was like, you can if that one in particular. I mean, that was one of my favorites. I guess we can talk about our favorite plasmids if you want.
I have nothing to say about bugs. So I mean,
they sucked. I mean, it was just the launcher. Like, it just refused to work with my resolution. And then I realized I wasn't doing the remastered version, which worked better. But the regular version refused. It's like I don't know what 1440p is, dude. You're gonna have to fucking play it in like half, in 720, or I'm leaving. Is what the game basically said. I
had to play it in like 1080p windowed mode in order to get it to work. It just did not like ultra wide, and it really did not like whenever I tried to stream it. It was just like, nope, we're not doing that. My stream software hated trying to get it to render right, and I just said, you know what, I'm just gonna play this real quick, and we're not gonna stream it.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't even trying to do ultra wide. I was still doing like 16:9, just a little bit of higher numbers than they knew about in 2007, and it freaked the fuck out. And it was like, what the fuck is this?
I had to do this super complicated thing. I had to turn my PS4 on and put the disc in.
Okay.
I just really didn't want to hook up my PlayStation.
Yeah, I just had all the modern convenience of a modern PC doing everything all at once. Okay, we get it. You're a console gamer. You're better than all of us.
I'm a console gamer. I'm better.
That's right.
Fact. That's the one out of.
That's right.
Very few times I could say
you get all your video games on vinyl. That's great. Good for you. Okay, but yeah, no, the bugs sucked. It's not fair, I feel like, to judge 17-year-old
Well, that's the thing
game.
too. It wasn't meant for PC. It came out on the 360.
I don't know if what I came across was a PC issue. I have some gripes. Okay, I had some things that made me seriously question. That made me seriously question about continuing with my playthrough.
Royce Castle 2?
Getting some.
Wow, I didn't have anything that
I had
serious.
some infuriating moments that were deep core mechanics that were broken in the game that I came across, and they were very frustrating. I took a day and a half to breathe because I thought I quit, and then I was like, you know what? We're gonna suck it up. We're gonna do it again, and we got this. So the first one, and it's not an exhaustive list. So the first one was, I think I beat the game. I played through it a lot because I was just really enjoying it. I was going at it over and over. in the couple weeks that since we started playing this game, and I was on maybe my 4th or 5th playthrough, and I decided, now Zach, you actually inspired me.
Wait, you played this game 4 times in a month?
Yeah, this dude has a problem.
Holy shit.
I had a problem.
Yeah.
Side note, I'll tell you my experience here real quick before you go on your tangent. I streamed this game about 3 times. I was so bad at it that I stopped playing it.
Oh, great.
I gave up.
Fair enough. Okay, well, we have the tale of 2 gamers over here.
Yeah.
So
Anyway,
after several playthroughs, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take one from Zach's book and I'm gonna platinum this game because I didn't know that was a thing. Until
you learned what that word meant on pod.
I did not know that was a thing until we played Elden Ring, and Zach was like, I platinum. I was like, what the hell is that? He's like, well, I did everything you could do.
Okay,
I did not know that was a thing.
That's a thing? Let's go.
Can I just sidebar real quick? Rat is such a strange combination of being an incredible, he's like a beautiful mind. Like he's an actual, he's like such he is a genius at games in some degree, but then he also knows absolutely nothing about his hobby in other degrees. Like he learned on podcast what platinuming it meant. Like, and I was like,
it's true.
That's like a very good.
I know nothing.
But then like he can like tell you all like the different like pixels of Valorant and like how
Listen,
to like
I only know
exactly
what I
right for different
experience,
guns.
okay? And if I didn't know it was a thing, I didn't know it was a thing. So anyway, after several times of playing through the game, I was like, you know what? I'm actually going to try to get the achievements. So I was like, okay, I'm going hard. I'm working on, I got the historian that's like find every single audio tape, every book, every whatever. And I think maybe my 5th playthrough, I was like, okay, I need to beat the game on hard mode.
5th?
I need to beat the game on hard mode without using a Vita chamber. So I was like, okay, easy.
His fucking mind.
So I go through the game. No, this is just before that. Okay, sorry. Let me backtrack.
How long did it take you to do each playthrough?
A few hours.
Like
probably,
roughly.
by the end of it.
Like 8?
No, probably like
Fuck
6
up.
to
Really?
8 hours by the end of it.
Rat, I need you to look me in the eyes and tell me you're not lying, that you beat this game 5 times in a month.
I played 52
Look me in the Discord eyes.
hours
Look,
in 2
barrel
weeks.
down the camera. Look in the camera, Rat. Look in the
at
camera.
whatever 52 hours in like 2
You
weeks
can't look in-
and a couple days.
You can't look at the camera. Look.
But then I'm not looking at
Okay,
you.
yes, look
It's
at the
not
camera.
real.
No, that's real. I'm looking in your eyes right now.
Oh, God, Poppy. Okay.
There's a glare.
Anyway.
Take the glasses off.
Tell me.
Listen.
No, you didn't say it.
Just
you can't.
check
You're
the
fucking
logs,
lying.
bro. Check the last time I played it.
You're
Anyway.
fucking lying. You did not beat this game 5 times.
No,
Zach's on
listen,
it, the
I'll
guy
let,
in the
I'll
chat.
let the
He's
bug
hacking into your
experts
Steam account.
check me on this because I have a bug that can probably testify to this. So anyway, during one of the end of this is probably playthrough 4, I came across
It was shutting
a
it down
horrible
because it was
bug.
tring to
Okay.
save you.
Well, at the end,
Like this man's gone too
you're in
far.
the living district. What area is that? Where all the hotels are?
You should know. You beat it 5 times.
No,
You tell
I
us.
don't remember things. I just do things.
Arcadia? Are you talking
Sure,
about Arcadia?
Okay.
Or the asbestos
this
apartments or
was-
whatever?
This was infuriating, but not too bad. I started using for the first time Control Big Daddy to throw him, make him on my side to fight people, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Get the large
Well, I
father
learned
involved.
basically by the time you hit Arcadia is when the game sort of development turns to shit and there's a lot of bugs and not great things because I don't think they put enough time in the second half of the game or third half.
Okay. Third half. Yep. That's how halves work.
So Big Daddy gets caught on a lot of items. He gets caught on everything and he'll just be standing at like a shirt on the ground running forward and not moving. So that Big Daddy's lost. You can't unstick him. You can't get him out of that. He's done. So I had an issue where I got to the end of one area in Arcadia and Big Daddy got caught inside of a Vita chamber entrance. So I died.
No, really?
And I respawn at this Vita chamber, and Big Daddy is currently
spooning a Big Daddy
forever until the day that existence is done, Big Daddy is charging toward the entrance of this Vita chamber. So I can't leave. So I'm like, oh my God. I have no choice, but I'm out of ammo. I'm out of plasmids. So I have to hit him with my wrench. I can hit him twice before he kills me.
Before he kills you.
So this was about 45 minutes of respawning, smack, smack, die. Smack, smack, die, smack, smack, die, smack, smack, die, until Big Daddy was dead.
Oh, Lord.
It was infuriating. So that was a minor bug. It was annoying. I could not, for the late half of the game, Big Daddy was useless. You could not control him. He would just get stuck on things.
Why didn't you just spawn to an earlier save?
Because dude, you don't want to see my save profile.
He's better than that.
It was all over the place, man. I usually use 2 saves. I use 2 saves plus the autosave. So I don't go beyond anything with that. Some of those saves are like way back when. Anyway, so where I really was about to quit the game was after that. Okay, I beat it. Cool. I was like, all right, I'm going to try to get the ultimate, like all the achievements. So I have to beat the game in hard mode.
Okay.
Without using a Vita chamber. Go through the game. Easy peasy. No problem. No sweat. Done. Beat it. Now I have to beat the game to get, which one was it? I chose the impossible. Beat the game on survivor difficulty without using a Vita chamber. I get all the way. This is in one sitting. I leave, like, I'm done with work. I go home. I sit down. I start playing. By about 9 o'clock, I reach the end of the game, and I'm at the Big Daddy area where you have to turn into Big Daddy. And I run into a bug where I cannot pick up the items necessary to become Big Daddy.
That was a mercy, dude. The game was trying to save you. Like, that's
apparently the way it works is when you start a new game plus, it does not reset your hidden inventory. So sometimes you can pick up more items than you need to use.
After all this rambling, there's an actual issue.
Yeah. No, listen. So basically, after I think this was my 6th playthrough, I'm going through it for the 6th time. It's 5 or 6. I think it was 6. I get to the end of the game and I cannot pick up. Basically, it's like you need to go grab some odor, some scents, like some perfume for Big Daddy.
Yeah, perfume.
And none of it,
Big
none
Daddy.
of it is a grabbable object because it says I already have them in my inventory. So I cannot check off the objective that says you picked up these objects. So after much frustration and looking at even ways of getting around this with going into like the BIOS of the game and just hacking it to go to the next level, I was like, it's not worth it. So I took a day and a half and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get this achievement. So I had to start a new game, not a new game plus. This is a brand new game without all my experience, plasmids, and guns on survival difficulty without using a Vita chamber. Man. And I had to beat that whole game with a brand new account. Help. And it was not easy. I avoided every single Big Daddy that I could.
Holy fucking shit, dude.
I got by on bare minimum plasmids and what I needed just to get to the end of this game. And I beat it first playthrough. I chose the impossible achievement because of this bug, which almost made me lose my absolute mind. It was infuriating. I was so mad when I realized 5 is the max you can new play plus before the game would just break because you couldn't pick up the necessary components to finish it. But I'll tell you what, buddy. I platinumed that bad boy. I got 65 out of 65 achievements. Let's go.
So behind the scenes, when you were saying you were conflicted about this game, I thought you were like, the art direction or the story or the gameplay. I didn't realize you meant you were conflicted because like you liked the game, but it fucking ruined your life and put you in shambles because you like gave up your entire existence to this game. So, dear baby listener, if you're listening to this, this is a cautionary tale. Don't binge Bioshock 8 times in a month. Otherwise, you might hit a bug.
Listen,
I'm not going to let that
On the
distract
PC.
from the game.
The game was so fun, but I will also say one more thing. One more thing. The game, because I was so streamlined at the process of beating this game, like I did it so many times, so quick. I was just going over and over and over again. It is the absolute worst game to speedrun. There are so many roadblocks that force you to just sit and wait and listen. And my body is shaking and rearing to go, and I have to wait 10 minutes before I can blast out the next episode. It was infuriating.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Jeez. I just feel like I don't know. I just, after listening to Rat's, like, tribulations, I just feel like just like, every episode,
Listen, I went too deep, I'll admit, okay? I went too far,
I think
too deep.
No, hold on. I think the subtext of this podcast is the slow descent into madness of Q and Rap Parade. Like, every episode just reveals a little bit
for the
more.
world to see.
Yeah, just like the paint just
Big
chips.
God of War with his hands.
Yeah, the God of War with his hands. The conspiracy Mario
The
theory.
Roy Castle.
That
too. Yeah.
Every little thing is just the paint chipping away piece by piece as Rat, like, he's gonna have a psychotic break one episode. Anywho,
I'm trying to think what game would be to be the tipping point.
it should be something like super mild, like a Winnie the Pooh
No, it
game
would be
or something.
Cuphead.
It
I
should
will
be like
never play
something-
Cuphead. Never, ever, ever.
Cuphead?
I know I'm going
Cuphead's
to lose my
great.
absolute mind, and I won't play it.
I love
That's
Cuphead.
my game. Maybe Sonic, too. I might lose my mind at Sonic.
Sonic's not even particularly
Sonic
hard.
is
I mean, it's
broken
good, but, like,
and bad and horribly optimized and so many bugs.
Are we talking like 3D Sonic, or are we talking?
Yeah, no,
Sonic
we're
the
talking
Hedgehog?
newer 3D Sonics, not the old school.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, no, like 3D
think I'd
Sonic
lose
is
it.
nightmare fuel.
yeah. It's pretty fucking weird. I do love that Big the Cat though.
I probably shouldn't have said that because Sonic fans are insane.
Sonic fans, don't cancel us. I do like some 3D
Sonic
Sonic games. I'll
fans
go on
know
record and
what
say
Sonic
that.
is, okay?
Oh,
Give
yeah.
them credit. They know what they're getting into.
Go into it.
Yeah, but they don't like it when you were like, "Hey, Sonic's bad." Like, we know, motherfucker.
They don't like that.
That's what makes it good. Is it's bad.
Okay. Oh, one other thing. Gosh, we're going on so long. I'm gonna just say one sentence because it's literally a complaint we've had again about like 3 games now. This game needs more enemy variety, particularly with the bosses. I was very disappointed that you would get this huge buildup about this like iconic character of this iconic figure in Rapture,
That's a good point.
and they would just end up being a regular
Guy with a gun.
a regular boss with a bigger health bar. Like Steinman is just a grenade splicer with a bigger health bar. Cohen is just a teleporting splicer with a bigger health bar. They needed actual bosses, and then the one boss that was an actual boss, which is Atlas at the end, is the most video gamey bullshit boss of all time. So the boss design was atrocious.
Yeah, he was the worst. And
Like
if you
this,
look
like,
at a lot of
Dr.
the enemies
Manhattan,
that
dollar
they
store
nixed-
Dr. Manhattan bullshit, like it was just yeah.
No, it's the statue of Atlas that's outside the GE building in New York.
Well,
Yeah,
okay, well
pretty
that
much.
makes it cooler. I didn't realize that.
And
but,
you know, he was definitely pretty lame. And if you look at, you know, a lot of the enemies that they took out of the game from earlier developments, they definitely could have had some variety, but you know, they had, I guess, a very specific art direction.
it could
they
just come
wanted
down
to
to
take
time
it,
and money
um,
too, like Zach was saying.
Mhm.
Although I remember that being a problem in Infinite as well, if memory serves. Like they just need more variety.
Oh no, I do remember reading something once upon a time where Ken Levine was just like, yeah, the final boss in Bioshock was not what I had in mind.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't know that he elaborated any further other than like, yeah, it was kind of shitty.
Yeah. So let's talk about the story. Let's after Rat's and like tantalizing fucking saga, let's go ahead and talk about the story because I feel like there's so how do we feel about, you know, I'll go ahead and start us off. So I love the tape recordings or the I guess they're tape, not vinyl, but tape recordings are great. I do love the idea that everyone in Rapture is just walking around with like 50 tape recorders, like just hanging off their body, and they're just like recording the most mundane shit. Like you would find tape. It's, again, if you don't think about it, it's wonderful because it just inserts you into the slice of life of Rapture of just like, oh, the plumbing is bad, and like there's like literally tape recordings about this. Like a plumber is like fixing the plumbing, and it brings up a great point. Like, how does plumbing work underwater? That aspect of it's great, but then you also have to picture a plumber like walking around with a tape recorder, like plumber log, like 83. Like, the plumbing in this bathroom is terrible because it's underwater. Like,
listen,
it's
man,
a charismatic plumber voice acted to
leagues
perfection.
Under the sea.
What'd you say? Sorry.
You have to document everything. When you live this far below the ocean, you have to document.
I suppose.
Okay, give him credit for that.
I guess, but it's just like this incredibly charismatic voice acted plumber, like like chronicling a toilet clog because the water was messed up. But if you don't think about the realism and you just take it for what it is, which is just this like really smooth, integrated way to kind of to further the world and the story of Rapture, it's very, very cool, very, very good. And it also does a great job because it tells the story without ever slowing down the pace. You can be gunning down splicers like boom, 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 like having like everything's going like just going at 100 miles an hour, still learning about the world. Like they never really have to stop your action, which is, it was a really nice solve. I feel like it's something we've seen a lot lately. I don't know.
That was a great design choice. You're able to listen to the logs while you're playing.
Exactly.
The game still, just in the background. You don't have to go to a separate menu and hit play and then just sit there for a minute or two and then continue playing. You could just have it on in the background, which is perfect.
Yeah.
Because there's literally no reason not to play every log you picked up.
Exactly.
Unless you just don't want to hear people talk.
Yeah,
or
unless it's
something.
your 8th playthrough and you're like on and you're
yeah, you memorize them
so
by
mad
heart.
about the big daddy glitch that you're like, yeah. And they were well executed. The writing is so great for both the lesser characters and the main characters. There's all these wonderful character foils to each other, like the Suchong and the Tenenbaum, just representing the two sides of science, of using it for where the ends justify the means versus like using it for the moral good. Atlas and Ryan obviously being the two, like Ryan being the ultimate right-wing, like libertarian capitalist laissez-faire philosophy, and then like Atlas using the antithesis of like a populist movement to garner his power. It does kind of like criticize both extremes, I should say, of like the politics without ever actually like landing on a point of like, it's like scared to like pick a side kind of, but it does a great job of like,
yeah, for sure.
But it does a really great job of like portraying these two like extremes in a way where both sides just seem so charismatic and so interesting. And like both Atlas and Ryan, you're like, I could see why people would follow these people. Like they both like make their arguments so well, and they're both so charismatic, and they're both so well written or well spoken, in the context of the game. Like I could see how these people could be leaders of men because they're both like just so engaging and yeah, and just so well voice acted. I'm probably gonna play a few for the audio aspects of this game. I'm probably gonna play a few choice lines by Andrew Ryan or Atlas, and just like to showcase the voice acting, because I feel like that gets, I feel like that is the driving like aspect of the game. Is the visual storytelling is all like environmental in the world, and then the audio storytelling is just these audio logs that just serve every purpose of like the most mundane aspects of Rapture, all the way up to these, kind of like higher echelon, like philosophical musings of like this like, this city world leader and this all like in this populist uprising leader. I don't know. I'm kind of getting lost in the sauce here, but
I could listen to Andrew Ryan on cassette all day.
Yeah.
His voice and his acting was so good.
Go ahead.
Did any of you pick up on Andrew Ryan's name?
Yeah, it's Ayn Rand.
There's an anagram in it.
Yeah, it's Ayn Rand.
It's
sorry.
Yeah, it's we are Ayn Rand.
Oh, I didn't pick up on the we are. That's yeah.
The hell is that?
Ayn Rand wrote Atlas Shrugged, which is like the premier. It's what this game is. It is literally
okay.
what this game is based on. Of like, if
Yeah.
you take.
Okay.
Don't read it. It sucks.
Yeah, it's pretty boring.
Got it.
But like, it's wild. Like other than the fact that, you know, there's the elements of like, hey, we got a city underwater. We've got things that don't actually exist. A lot of the key plot points and influences are from like real life things. Like one of the major influences on Andrew Ryan's character was John D. Rockefeller Jr. Ken Levine was heavily inspired by Rockefeller's life story. Like this was a dude that during the height of the Great Depression, when they were making Rockefeller Center, his financiers pulled out and they had no money, and he was just like, I'll build it.
Yeah.
You know, during the height of the Great Depression, this dude had so much money that he was just like, I don't care. Here's money. Finish it.
Nice. Well, not nice, I guess.
Yeah, but like,
Nice.
like Andrew Ryan is, like Andrew Ryan's story is based on Rockefeller, and then his name is an anagram of Ayn Rand. There's a lot of influence from George Orwell, Aldous Huxley. 1984 is a big influence on the game. So is Logan's Run, The Manchurian Candidate.
Yeah, you are the Manchurian Candidate. Yeah,
you play as the Manchurian Candidate. Like it's like a combination of all these different influences that just, and it pulls it off spectacularly, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, totally. The game is clearly in a conversation with like so many other things that came before it, both philosophically, literarily.
You got it.
And I think it has like some interesting things to say. So okay, hold on. Any other thoughts about the story? Because there's one thing I want to touch on specifically, but it's going to be a whole little rabbit trail. So I want to make sure that from like a broad perspective, how do we feel like the story worked, the narrative worked, the back and forth worked?
I think so. I think the game design and the story were all. It was almost flawlessly integrated. As far as the world of Rapture, there is almost no aspect of any nook or cranny you could explore without having a purpose. Everything had a purpose that you looked at, from audio logs to visual aesthetics to the items you're finding on the ground. Everything had a purpose, and it added to the narrative of the world, which I think is a huge, amazing credit to the game for how much attention to detail that they put in there. There was one moment where that I thought particularly incredible. It was okay. So you're at Cohen's place, the entertainment district, which is, probably one of the most enjoyable areas. It's really fleshed out. You're walking around and you see a poster on the wall, and it is for a performance of Moira and Patrick, for a theater performance. Moira and Patrick is the wife and son of Atlas.
Oh my gosh. Holy shit.
So it comes to infer that Atlas is coming up with these characters for his fake life story.
Oh my gosh.
Of, hey, my wife Moira and my son Patrick.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
We need to save them because he saw their posters for a performance in the theater. Every little aspect of this game is so integral to the story.
Yeah, totally. I didn't realize that about the details about Moira and Patrick. That's amazing. That's so good.
I ain't either.
That's a great little Easter egg. So the world, again, anything that has to do with the world building and the overarching plot, I feel like is handled really well. So I don't know if I want to call them qualms. So, okay. It is my opinion that video games are uniquely able to handle questions of morality and to handle questions of choice and better than almost any other medium. And this is one of the games that was like, I'm sure it was not first, but was like prominent in doing that. Like this game is really, really concerned with you, the player's morality, and you, the player's like relationship with choice, right? So I'm getting past the overarching narrative, and I'm really getting to two aspects of this game that are like, very memorable. And I think what a lot of people think of when they think of this game, which is the little sisters and the little sisters, and the big huge fucking twist. A man chooses a slave obeys. So this game wants to kind of like challenge you, the player, with a moral choice of like, do you save the little sisters or do you kill them? And I just feel like this game was, again, like it's early-ish. I mean, not really. I'm sure other games since Bioshock have handled moral choice much, much better. I'm sure there were games before it that probably did as well. But the game is trying to like make you, are you going to be a utilitarian, lack of morals person like Andrew Ryan, or are you going to rise above it and be moral and take a hit to your inventory of Adam in order to save the little sisters? And to me, I feel like this game like just clunkily handles this like really good question of morality that it was like poised to like ask, by forcing you to make such a dumb decision of like, do you literally murder this little girl for more points, or do you save the little girl? And it really annoys me that the game tries to set that up as some kind of compelling choice, because it just isn't. Like it's too cartoonishly evil and binary to like be like a very like interesting or compelling choice to make. Like, I don't know, maybe there's people who kill the little sisters, but like, it just seems like so obvious that you're going to save the little sisters. And then the game doesn't even like penalize you for it. The game gives you just as much, if not, I think it actually ends up being more Adam if you save the little sisters. And so the game kind of like presents this moral choice to the player that it ultimately doesn't deliver on. Because this game is so clearly setting up these like different ideologies between Tenenbaum and Suchong and Ryan and Andrew Ryan and Atlas, and it could have been so great with these moral questions, and I feel like it falls flat. And other games do it better in the future. Again, I will always shout out Undertale, which I think actually handles moral choice a lot more deftly than this game does. But the game like tries to be all like edgy and like philosophical and tries to like make you think like, are you a monster too? Are you going to do the right thing? When the right thing is such a clearly easy choice to make, it kind of like robs it of this like actually difficult moral choice. And then the other thing, in kind of a similar vein ish, the game has a lot to say about player choice, but really only has a lot to say about player choice in one moment, in one giant plot twist this game is like inextricably associated with, which is of course like once you actually get to meet Andrew Ryan, you get this huge plot twist that you've actually been under, as Zach pointed out, Manchurian Candidate style, under the mind control of Atlas this whole time. And it's this huge reveal, and Atlas is actually Fontaine. And so you find out like, and then in the big takeaway line that Andrew Ryan says as Andrew Ryan is forcing you to kill him, Andrew Ryan is, a man chooses, a slave obeys, implying that, you, the player, are in kind of like in this same kind of like dichotomy of like, you are being told what to do throughout the whole game, and you are just doing it. You're being told to be violent through this whole game, and you're just doing it. And you are similarly to have like a lack of choice. And so I feel like the game poises itself to do something significant here, which is like, if at that point in the game, if you could start playing the game differently, but up until that point in the game, you're essentially a murder hobo who's murdering essentially, psychologically unwell drug addicts. Yeah, and granted, they are all violent and they will all attack you first, but you're essentially just going to town on this like not these people that are just not in their right mind. And if you think about it, it's fucked up, right? And so maybe again, this would be a huge developmental undertaking, so maybe not necessarily feasible, but after the point where the game reveals that you've been acting under like the influence of Atlas, they should have either A, changed the gameplay to where you don't have to like kill everything around you, or B, at the very least made it very, very clear that the people that you're harming are, I don't know, maybe explicitly in the service of Atlas or something, or I don't know, more morally evil. But instead what this game does is it's like, ooh, aren't you like so bad for like following this game's directive the whole time? Aren't you yourself not exercising your free will by doing all these horrible things? And then you're like, oh man, wow, huge twist. Yes, wow, holy shit. And then I'm going to go keep doing it. And then you go out and you just keep like doing the same thing you've been doing this whole time, which kind of like undermines what this game has to say about choice. I just realized I've been ranting for a very long time. So I will open up the floor if anybody has anything to say about that. And this was also kind of mentioned there's a very famous article about quote unquote ludo narrative dissonance by Clint Hawking. Which I don't entirely disagree with. He argues that the Randian approach is like established, is like presented as like the proper choice. I disagree. I think the game presents the Randian approach, the libertarian, super utilitarian approach, as being morally wrong the whole time, as evidenced by the world around it being in shambles. But he is one of the first progenitors he's one of the first people to bring up this like quote unquote ludo narrative dissonance, where what the story is telling you, which is the narrative, is different than what the gameplay is asking of you, which is the ludo part. So that's my piece on that. If no one has anything to say, I'm sorry I talked for so long. It's always bothered me. It's bothered me about this game for a long time. And so like,
really?
Yeah. I won't say like I thought of it first or whatever at all. Cause I mean, I've listened to other think pieces about this whole like dichotomy. So basically what I think the game would have been stronger without its giant twist, without its huge like, whoa, you were under the guy's like influence the whole time. I think if they had just like presented it as like Atlas and Ryan in this like amazing world, it wouldn't have been as convoluted. Is my thought. As far as
I
like,
agree with that, because like you just said at the start of this all, one of the biggest things people talk about when talking about this game is the twist.
Sure.
So if you take it out, that's kind of something that makes it special. I mean, I was going to say this earlier, but we've grown so at least I have, like, so unfazed by the twist, because I know what it is, and I've known what it is for 15 years now or whatever. But at the time, that was mind-blowing shit.
Oh yeah,
that was absolutely mind blowing. Like that was something that has never been like that. At least I've experienced that. Like I've never been yanked around so hard in a game like this one. And I don't know. That's something, and I know you're saying like at the end you should have had a choice, which they could have gone that direction. But I think they wanted to. I think they had a story in mind, and I think the way they wanted to tell that story was, you're pissed off for getting yanked around, and you got to go stop the bad guy then.
Yeah.
That's been yanking you around.
To further elaborate, to like set the scene for people that didn't play this in 2007, up until that point, the only twist in a video game that I can think of that may have been more shocking was the twist in Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. I don't think anybody saw that twist coming. I'm not going to spoil it for those that haven't played the game, but if you're familiar with it, you're going to sit there and be like, yeah, that was like, that's one of two, like that is one of the few twists I had no idea was coming. And Bioshock did the same thing. I don't know if I was just so engrossed in the world that I wasn't picking up on the subtle hints that were there. But I remember when you get the heel turn from Fontaine to Atlas being like, oh shit. I'd actually bought into Atlas is dead. Or that Atlas is dead. Or am I mixing them up?
No, yeah, Atlas. No, Fontaine is dead, and became Atlas.
Yeah,
that's right. All right, so yeah, and then I bought in the Fontaine's dead, and then I actually was like, oh yeah, like the Atlas is my dude. And then like I remember that being shocking. And then getting the whole like backstory for the main character, Jack, being like, holy shit, like this is wild. But to circle back, Figgy, with what you were talking about, how like the decision felt very monstrous. That's deliberate, because that is the core overarching theme of Atlas Shrugged, is that as far as man is concerned, it should not be like men should be driven by selfishness and not altruism. So that there's a reason why the choice is kill the girl, kill the little girl, get the atom, versus do the right thing. Like that's the main point that Ayn Rand was trying to say with Atlas Shrugged, is that if she was playing the game, she would say, kill that little girl. That's your job. Like, that's your goal. Like, you need to do what's best for you. Everything else is secondary. Also, the game was not envisioned as having the dual endings that we got. That was another instance of studio interference where the studio felt that, hey, you've got moral choices. If you go down one path, you should get this an ending. You go down the other path, you get an ending. But the original intention was to actually have like a super ambiguous ending. So I don't know.
Oh, that would have been nice to see.
Yeah, like I would like to see like the original intention. But like I said earlier, that there is a ton of studio interference with the gameplay and the story. At one point, 2K was like, this is not going to work. We're going to lose money. They had no idea that this was going to go on to be such a moment in the cultural zeitgeist. And especially when you look at 2007, this is something I, really wanted to mention. As far as like the impact that Bioshock had, is that when you look at the year 2007 in gaming, that is considered by many to be one of the top years in gaming ever. Like,
yeah,
just to give you,
banger.
Just to give the listener some additional context, in 2007, you had Bioshock, Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, God of War 2, Halo 3. You just look down the list of like
Did Galaxy come out too?
Yeah, Super Mario Galaxy, The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion.
Oof. Wasn't the Orange Box 2007? Or maybe it was 2006.
I don't know.
I'm looking at
there's probably like just a list that curates what the mainline titles are.
It was
but like,
it was.
If we just look,
so Portal and Half-Life 2 came out in 2007 too. Shit.
Yeah, Half-Life 2 Episode 2 came out in 2007. Like, I'm just going to read this list really quick of all the games that scored at least 90% on, or like a 90 out of 100 on Metacritic. Super Mario Galaxy, The Orange Box, Bioshock, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare the first time, Halo 3, Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, God of War 2, Galactic Civilizations 2, Team Fortress 2, Guitar Hero 2, Rock Band, Resident Evil 4 Wii Edition, World of Warcraft Burning Crusade, Mass Effect, Crysis, Half-Life 2 Episode 2, Metroid Prime 3, Forza Motorsports 2, Legend of Zelda Phantom Hourglass, Portal.
Just an amazing year.
And then on top of that, just outside of that box is Uncharted 1, Uncharted Drake's Fortune. Like, think of that, like, that's insane. You know, when you think about like that is crazy, like 2007. And, you know, a lot of those games, yeah, we still talk about, but like Bioshock was a brand new IP. Like how many of those games were brand new IPs? Like, you know, Mario's a sequel. Point. The Orange Box was full of sequels. Call of Duty's a sequel. Halo's a sequel. Elder Scrolls a sequel. God of War's a sequel. Like, on that list of games, like Rock Band is a new IP, but I mean, it's really just, you know, Guitar Hero expanded. Right. It's not a brand new idea. Like it's like you have Bioshock, Mass Effect, and Crysis,
and Portal.
Are all these new IP that came out in the same year. And it's like, but you know, and those are games that still get talked about, but it's just crazy that this game came out of nowhere.
Yeah. No, I mean, don't mistake my criticisms as being like unhappy with the game as a whole. Like, I
don't think any, like, that's not my point. My entire point is that, you know, just for the listener, that because I know a lot of people that listen to podcasts may not have even, you know, been alive or socially conscious, but they're familiar with these IPs. It's just additional background, not a criticism of anything. It's just you know, I lived it, and
grew up in the golden age.
I grew up in the golden age at least 3 times at this point.
It just keeps being golden.
Yep. But it's just like, but when I think about it, like, the only other game that really had a story that could go toe to toe with this, in my opinion, overall was Mass Effect. You know, like that's the only thing that gets close as far as moral choices. Granted, I would argue that Mass Effect takes it to a different level. And that's not to shit on Portal either. Portal's fun, but that story's that's a paragraph. The story in Portal's a paragraph.
Yeah. It's just charming.
You know, it's still fun. Yeah. It's just oozes charm.
So yeah, no, I mean, yeah, this game, it was a landmark game, and did a lot of things right. And I'm just holding it to such a high standard because it strived to do something different, and it deserves respect for that. And and so like, I guess the reason the whole choice thing bothers me is because this game in so many ways tells such a mature story and sets up such a mature environment for the player. And then the choice that you're made is like a kindergartner's choice. I don't know, with the little sisters, but I don't think it makes the game overall like bad or anything. I just think that it's what the game is known for. And I feel like it did not execute on what it did not execute what it that aspect of what it wanted very well. Which is not saying the game itself or even the whole plot or story or themes themselves are like thrown out. Don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I just think that aspect of it, which is a large part of what's remembered for, could have just been more effective if they had been handled a little better. And in regards to what Steve was saying about it being like a holy shit moment, it absolutely was. It was a holy shit moment to me. I fucking lost my mind when I realized I'd been mind controlled the whole time. It's a great twist. I'm not arguing it's not a great twist. I guess what I was just was saying is that twist comes at the sacrifice of a more like, of kind of like being not clear with like what they wanted to achieve thematically, which is fine. I'm trying, this podcast is trying to like look at games like really critically. And so I'm just trying to like, you know,
I think the biggest point in your favor though is that the director and writer of the game agrees with you.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
No,
he's a smart fella.
Ken Levine, he did not like the way that the game ended up, and he wished that he could go back and redo it.
Yeah. So in my opinion, it's a great twist. Yeah, no. So Ken Levine sounds like a great guy. I would love to. Sounds like a smart fella, if I say so myself. But the twist was great. I felt like it muddied up the waters of the plot. Which maybe that's a worthy sacrifice because that plot twist is iconic. So
I would say in part I don't know. I don't know where I stand on y'all's gripes with the
mainly
freedom of choice and the little girls, little sisters. I will say one thing that I think I don't know how to put it. One thing that was well done is the only freedom of choice you have in this game, or virtually close to the only freedom of choice, is the moral dilemma of kill the little sister or save them. Atlas at no point ever tells you are never, that is the only moment you are not commanded to do something. So as a player, you have the option as a person sitting behind the screen holding the controller to make that choice of, am I going to be the bad guy or am I going to be the good guy? So versus everything you went through the whole story, by the time you get to the end, you realize, oh my God, I never had a choice in any of this. Am I the bad guy? All you have to sit with in silence is what you did to the little sisters. Did you make the right choice? Are you a hero or are you a villain? And regardless of that, I think it delivers well on that in getting into the psyche of the human experience and morality and how we view it, on craving power over, morality or consequence. And I think it does a really good job in that aspect. Whereas the only thing you have to cling to, which I think in sense, the overarching story of Bioshock is not about the feud between Atlas and Ryan. It is the plight of these little sisters. And the story is almost more focused and centered on them and everything that they've been through and where they end up in the end of it. And based on your only one choice that you actually had freedom over is controlling the outcome of what the true story is about, whether they see freedom and a good life or annihilation and destruction, and you assume power and take control as sort of the villain. Now, there are 3 endings to this series. They're super weak. 1 and 3 are strong, but the middle one is like, it's the exact same thing, just a different tone of voice. But I do think credit to them is giving the player the only thing they actually had control of in the game, a pretty pivotal, serious role in judging on your morality scale, so to speak.
Yeah.
And that is the one thing that you chose to do because you were never at any point told to do one or the other.
That's a really good point, that you're never commanded one way or the other. I think I'm just kind of spoiled on really just one game, but games in general that handle morality better. If you are intrigued by the question of morality in video games, go play Undertale, and then make sure you do the genocidal route, because that game is a game that makes you feel your choices and the game responds to your choices. And again, that's a game that came out, a decade later, and also had games like Bioshock to look at on what to do and what not to do. So it's not an entirely fair comparison. It's just, I just would have, the game was like on the edge of like touching something great as far as the morality and the choice aspect of the game. It was just, it just bothered me because it's like they were reaching for such heights and to me fell short. I do think that your point about the little sisters, about it being the only choice that you really get to make and that no one makes you choose one way or the other is a really good context.
I will definitely say, to your credit, I think the entire end game of the series falls flat. I think it was rushed. It was poorly written. I think story-wise, it was rushed. It wasn't well done. But to your credit, they could have made such a more severe impact on the choice option after you learned, after the fact. Because, you'll kill every little sister and you'll get through the end and they're like,
there's no difference.
Okay, they kind of say some snide remarks, but they're all going to help you and get through.
Yeah.
And, whether you killed one little sister, it doesn't make a difference on your remarks. If you save them all, they'll kind of be happier with you, but it doesn't really make a difference on the story moving forward. You have no more choice. You can't just leave. You have to kill Atlas. You know, so definitely super falls flat on the whole premise it was building on of a man chooses, a slave obeys.
Right.
And the end game doesn't really give you any options.
Yeah.
Which that was kind of what they were going for. It just falls flat. What they intended for the player to take away was that free will doesn't exist, that there's no such thing. But you know, when looking into like the original intent, it was like they wanted you to take away that you never had free will. It's an illusion. That you were just, you know, the character that you play as, you know, your whole purpose was to just do what you were told.
Well, if that was the intent, then they shouldn't have given you the option with the little sister, because that is free will.
Well, I get what he's saying. I mean, they're pulling the veil behind, hey, this is actually, here's a look at video games.
Yeah,
this is what a shooter is. And so I get that aspect for sure.
Yeah.
But then, like, when researching like the original ending, they wanted to do the original idea was that your actions would have consequences, but they would ultimately lead to the same place, which is what you see in Bioshock Infinite.
Right. Yeah.
It's more fully realized in Bioshock Infinite. I don't know if it was a technical limitation at the time, but like the idea was what he didn't like about the ending was that it didn't matter if you killed one little sister and saved the rest, or if you saved one little sister and killed the rest, you would still get the bad ending.
Mhm.
And he took umbrage with that, but it was out of his hands at that point. And then ultimately, like, the game is rushed towards the end because they have a deadline to meet. They couldn't fully flesh out what they were going for. And it wasn't until, you know, like when they did Bioshock Infinite, they were just like, hey, do whatever you want. Here's money, go crazy. Which I think also works to the detriment of that game, but that's a whole other discussion.
Yeah, whole other episode.
I think the way, like, I know we were talking about like, well, maybe they didn't want the twist and like there originally. I do believe they did. They wanted that twist there. I can definitely see like producer influence with like the ending though, like the Big Daddy, like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if he became a Big Daddy at the end?
Yeah.
You know, like that seems something like a producer would do. Because that
It's
does
just
feel
like
tacked
I
on
don't think
and
like I think
lame.
the twist was definitely intended. It's too,
Yeah, because even Infinite,
it's
like
too much of a part of the
Integral.
plot. It's just that I think both endings are bad.
Yeah,
Like, they're just not
the actual ending cutscene is just it feels so tacked on, which is
like
by that point
like
I'm not even
like the bad ending is just so cartoonishly evil.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, it doesn't really make sense. It's like, okay, you killed a little girl, now you're going to destroy the world. Like, really? Like, it's too far. Like, it's too far removed from like what I felt the game was going for. And then the good ending, I was just like, well, that's stupid. Like,
Yeah,
it feels. It's
I
just
don't
like, that's
like.
it.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't even thought of it, but like, how do you end a game like that? You know, he's in
Well,
an
like,
underwater
I
city. He
guess, like,
leaves.
You know,
He
the
lives his
original
life.
ending was probably just supposed to be like a more. It was stated to be ambiguous, so I imagine it would have been the kind of ending that critics outside of games media would have hated, and that your average player probably would have just not got and been like, that's it. It just rolled credits.
yeah.
But you
Yeah.
know, we'll never know. I don't think
Well-
it's in. I don't think it's in the book. Ken Levine wrote a book about making the game, and I don't think it's in there.
Okay, guys. Let's get into
Is it
final
time?
thoughts. It's time.
Oh,
So I'm gonna roll
time.
It's time. Let's. Okay, dear baby listener, you've listened to us for I don't know how long the recording is going to be, but we've been talking for 3 hours. So, the time has come to decide: is this game worthy of the title of a GOAT game? And I'm gonna roll a dice. And 3, 2, 1, rolling a dice. And it's on me. I'm first.
Wait, don't I? Wait, don't I just go?
Wow.
Oh no, wait, no. Oh, you're right. Wait. You're right. Thank you for reminding me, Steve. I apologize. The person who did the elevator pitch, the person who does the elevator pitch is going to go first, and I'll go next.
Yes, because obviously I like the game. Yeah, I think it's a GOAT. For sure. It's
okay.
I love the plot. You know, the gameplay. It does what it's supposed to do. It's good enough. You know, it's just the world though that really draws you in. The visuals, like I said, the sound effects, the soundtracks, everything. Like I said too, I really haven't experienced a game this deep with, you know, the lore and the twists and everything. This was one of the first experiences where I felt like it cranked up my story games up to the next level. Because prior to this, I was just playing like Mario and Zelda, which, you know, they're good and fun. But this brings story to a whole different level when you compare to games like those. So I definitely have to give it a go.
Hell yeah. Awesome. Okay. That's one GOAT down. I'll go now. I have been extremely conflicted on whether or not I wanted to give this game a GOAT. What are you doing, Q? What are you pointing?
I'm judging you. I'm waiting for your results.
Oh, you're waiting. Okay. I've been very conflicted because playing through it again, without nostalgia goggles, I was annoyed by a lot of the gameplay aspects. And again, I'm very sympathetic to the fact that they didn't have a budget, and they didn't have time. But you know, the whole point of this podcast, I think art criticism in general, is you kind of just judge the work based on what's put in front of you, because some people have made games with zero budget that have been phenomenal, and people have also made games with infinite time and budgets that have been completely ass. So I am sympathetic to them as a person, but as a critic, I have to be, you know, like whatever. I have to kind of like just judge by what's put in front of me. So I think the gameplay has issues. I don't think they're as glaring or as distracting as some other games that, I mean, I've played in general, and that even that we've reviewed on the podcast. And like I said, I have issues with how they handled the larger questions that they were really swinging for the fences for. But the fact that they swung for those Rat, you don't have to agree with me or whatever. I'm very interested.
Keep going. Do your thing.
The fact that they swung for those fences again at a time when, if not they were the first, it certainly was not popular for video games to try and tackle these larger questions, both political questions, moral questions, philosophical questions. They swung hard, and what they did, although I don't think it was done in a way that I think I necessarily agree with when it comes to choice and morality, they did it effectively, as evidenced by the fact that so many people who play this game are so affected by it, and by its twist, and by its moral questions, and by its political questions. And for someone who really studies literature or politics or philosophy, you know, I'm not trying to say this is like groundbreaking work. If you actually, you know, read political theory, this isn't going to like blow your mind, but it presents it in a way that it's so compelling and interesting for so many people that even if they didn't handle it as well as I would have liked, I don't think it's fair to say they didn't do it completely effectively. And what they did do well, they did exceedingly well. Like I said, this is probably, I cannot think of any other game that handles world building as well as this game. Full stop. In games that just handle atmosphere as well as this game, again, whether or not I agree with how they handled the overarching writing, like the giant plot points, the themes, the individual writing of the dialogue is just incredibly effective. Andrew Ryan is just an incredibly compelling character. Atlas, a compelling character. Tenenbaum, a wonderfully written, compelling character. Suchong, super interesting and weird character. Every character who gets any amount of screen time is just so great to listen to. Not great like you agree with them, but just great as in like well written, well realized, well acted. You understand each of them with the very limited amount of time each of them gets. And so I am going to let it squeak by with a goat. It is ultimately a goat. It is ultimately a goat, but in my opinion, it gets by the skin of its teeth if it's a goat, because I think it does have a significant amount of flaws. This is not a glowing goat where it's like obviously a goat to me. It is a lot. I was a lot more conflicted than I thought I would be based on my memory of this game. So I will give it a goat. And now I will roll.
All right.
And if it's, I guess I'll just do 1 to 2.
That's a good point too. What you were saying, like it does take like political aspects and puts it in front of a whole different audience.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like you know, like dude bros are playing this game. Dude bros don't go to college for political science. You know.
Exactly. I think there's something to be said for that. I mean, this is a lot of people's first and this is a lot of people's like first taste or early taste of like a lot of more complex political theory, a lot of more, like a lot of like philosophical ideas, moral ideas. And conversely, the opposite end, it's a game that you can recommend to your nerd friends, your nerd literary friends, to be like, look, I know you don't love video games, but this game like handles a lot of really interesting questions in a very fun, effective way. And it puts you in a world that's absolutely engrossing at the same time. I just think it has a really good crossover appeal to both ends of the spectrum, I guess. Zach, I rolled for you next.
Shit. Well, to be honest, when I went back and played the game, I was like, well, this isn't quite what I remember. And I was like, well, it's 15 years old. And I found myself trying to look at it through that lens. And I went back and read opinions on the game that were contemporary to 2007 and was looking through the criticisms then. And I came to realize that while playing it, a lot of my issues were from looking at it from a 2022 lens, having played other games. Some of the things that I didn't like, I was like, well, the reason I don't like them is because this game created them and everybody beat it to death. And I was like, so my biggest conflict was, do I rate this game for what it was when it came out? Or do I rate it for when I went back and revisited it? And I figured with, having been able to experience it when it was new, I felt that was the appropriate way to handle it, because that's how we've looked at the older games on the show, looking at them as a product of their time. And I found that the best way I can look at it is it's a flawed masterpiece. It's not the perfect game by any stretch of the definition. I do have a lot of gripes with it, both from a technical and gameplay perspective. But I love the story. I love the world building. And at the end of the day, I just, sat back and I was like, is this a game that I would recommend somebody today to go play? And I was like, yeah, I'd recommend anybody go back and play Bioshock. And I just kind of like when the pendulum stopped swinging, I landed on GOAT. I just feel that the good in this game outweighs the bad. And it's, it's like anything, like, you can have an album with 2 or 3 banger songs and the rest suck. I'm not going to not tell you to not listen to those songs. You can have, a movie that has a great plot that's poorly executed, that's still enjoyable. And when I looked at Bioshock, I was like, well, this is a fun game. Like, objectively speaking, the game's fun to play, even despite the flaws. It held my interest the whole time. Even if it stumbles towards the end, it was when the credits rolled, who didn't just kind of sit back and just go, holy shit.
Sure.
It's a game that has stuck with me this long. So, based off of all that, I was like, yeah, this is a GOAT. This is one of the greatest games of all time.
Yeah. All right. Bioshock's doing good. 3 GOATs. Q, how do you feel about this game?
I'm going to tell you how I feel. This game's a GOAT, y'all. I'm just going to throw it out there right out front and center. Okay. I was so impressed. Having not played this game before, playing it 4 years ago, I played it. I loved it. Now, believe me or not, baby listener, but I did not remember the huge plot twist when I replayed this game.
You need to get your brain
just
checked,
recently. I know. I know. I've got some serious memory issues, but I will tell you this.
Well, you're telling me Bruce Willis was dead at the whole time?
A little bit ago, when I played this game a little bit ago and got to the end of it for the first time again, I completely did not remember the huge plot twist until it was happening. I went down, I saw like the memory wall with all like the newspaper clippings and the strings, and I was like, oh my God. What was it? It was Would You Kindly, like posted all over the place. And then I was like, oh no. And it was starting to come back to me. And then I got into the back room, and then I was confronted with Andrew Ryan, and then that whole scene unfolded. And I was just as blown away and floored than I was the first time I played it. Not really that long ago, but somehow I did not remember that at all until it happened.
You need to go to a neurologist.
Listen, that's neither here nor there. But I will say, like, the plot, the gameplay, I mean, it was so dang good and entertaining and fun. And that twist at the end was it was shaking how powerful it was. And going back to that time period, I mean, like many of you have said, what games do we have before that other than maybe Mass Effect 1, or not Mass Effect, KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic, which had such a crazy wild twist at the end of it. Like, it was not only that, the intro of the game. What shooters can you think of that had such an incredible opening sequence that was so enthralling, that pulled you into the world and integrated you so well and caught you so up to date with how fleshed out and real the world was? The only other game I can really think of, maybe Half-Life 1, which was kind of the predecessor to all of those beginning opening sequences for shooters. I mean, the art style still holds up today. It was a phenomenal choice that they chose for the way the game was depicted, with the graphics and the art style. The time period was so unique. It came out, a huge factor for me was whether or not this game came out before or after Fallout 3, which was same time period piece, music, aesthetics, 20s, 40s vibe, and this game preceded it by the previous year. So that was like a huge up in this game's defense of, I mean, it really knocked everything out of the park. And I think that every design, like every level design, every aspect you see in the build of the levels correlated to the narrative. Nothing was gone to waste. Every single thing you come across throughout the whole course of the game had a point. It was not just filler. And I think that was huge. Now, yes, the ending left a lot to be desired for. I don't love the boss. After the huge plot twist, I think there were a lot of gimmicky areas where it was just unfinished, not well fleshed out. But overall, this game set a standard for action shooter RPGs. And I think there's a lot to live up to when looking back at this game for things that came ahead of it. So it's a GOAT.
Hell yeah.
Thank you for not giving a half-assed answer like Figgy and Zach. They're like, I don't know.
Wow, that was damn.
Hey, it wasn't half-assed, it was nuanced, okay?
Well, not
We don't do
half-assed,
nuance
you know
on
what I
the
mean.
internet.
Okay, well, so fine. Okay, the game the game's a GOAT. I'll play a sound effect here, a satisfying sound effect. GOAT.
Big Daddy moaning.
Did we ever land on like verbiage for unanimous goats, or are we just leaving it to all five?
I don't even.
Golden goat for all 5.
A golden goat was proposed. Steve had a whole system. Steve had a whole like flow chart.
Steve, I'm not gonna lie. You melted my brain with your system.
It wasn't
was too
even that hard.
complex.
It was goat, and if it was a goat, then you had stars. So today would be a 4-star goat. It wouldn't be a 5-star goat because Rob's not here.
So
No,
I
but
have
then a golden goat
system. I have a simpler system to propose.
Okay, hit me.
If
Hit us.
everybody on the podcast says it's a goat, but we're not, the 5 core members aren't here, it's a
Okay.
golden goat.
Okay. This is
If
today.
all five of us call it a goat, it's a platinum goat.
Oh, that's pretty good.
It's
That'll
a-
work.
Simple. Just, it's either, that way it's unanimous. A golden goat's unanimous.
And then
a
you could do
platinum goat's
silver
super
if
unanimous.
there's like if somebody disagrees or something, or
Maybe.
just call it goat.
Yeah, and it's a poopy goat if half and half.
Yeah. So no. All right, it's a goat. Let's do the outro really quick.
Oh, real quick though.
What's up?
If you're game, if not, you can definitely edit this out. But I do have a listener question.
Oh yeah, hit me for fuck's sake. Yes.
Oh shit.
New segment that we may do
So-
only once. Let's do a listener question.
Now this is going to be controversial.
Okay. Okay, we may or may not do a listener question.
Not that kind of controversial.
Oh, okay.
Like, this is going to cause a discussion.
Okay. All
Like,
right. Well,
this is
fuck
going to
it.
end up being. This is going to be something that I think a lot of people are going to have very strong opinions on. But I promise you, it's not political or religious.
Okay. I mean, I can destroy it if it's too nasty or something. Let's go.
Yeah. All right. So you sit down at your kitchen counter and you have your favorite cereal and the milk in front of you. Do you pour your cereal in first or your milk?
This
this
is
is
not
nothing to do with
controversial.
Bioshock.
Cereal, 100%. What?
Is there anyone who's
Yeah.
going to say milk first? Because they can just fucking
Nobody
leave.
puts milk in first.
No one
'cause
puts
then
milk
you just
first.
have cereal floaters, and then you're out of balance. You have to push that stuff down with the spoon. You're not min-maxing here. You're
Yeah.
wasting your time.
Exactly.
No,
Your cereal,
I'm with you here.
your
But-
cereal will just overflow on top. That's
Now,
not
the real
there
question
are-
is orange juice or milk? Hmm?
In cereal?
Oh, yeah. OJ.
no.
Oh, you do not eat cereal with orange
OJ
juice.
puts a pep in your step. I'm telling you, my friend.
Rat is just trying to enrage me. There's no way. There's
I'm telling you, look it up. It's a real thing, and it's delicious.
no,
Anyway,
it's not.
back to the
It's
Rat,
delicious.
question.
Rat, I want you to look into the camera and tell me that you've eaten cereal with orange juice as your filling, as
extra
your.
pulp, Captain Crunch, or Lucky Charms.
Oh, Josh. Okay, I regret this decision. This is very disturbing. I can't handle it.
But apparently, they had asked this question on Reddit and got surprising results where a lot of people put milk first.
Well, they're
Well, those-
psychopaths.
They're psychopaths, and they're just like Rat was saying. The physics of it don't make sense.
Yeah, they're just little
But,
babies who don't know better. Okay, we'll teach
yeah,
you.
but,
We'll guide you. Follow
Because
us.
this came in from a
Come
listener
with me. I
that
will
I
show
knew-
you the promised land. Putting the
This
cereal
came in
first.
from a listener that I know, so I answered them in text, and my answer was cereal first. I'm not a heathen, and he said, "I love how everyone I know is answering this while also calling the milk firsters fucking crazy."
Yeah,
Because
I
they
don't
are.
think that-
They deserve it.
I don't
Oh my
think they
gosh.
exist. I think they are propaganda or some kind of like psyops by the Russians to convince Americans to further divide the American resolve. That because there's no way that those people are real. There's like
Yeah,
No,
they're
no,
all
no,
a
no.
part of Big Milk, who just want you to
I'm
have a
telling you,
bigger bowl
maybe-
of milk than cereal.
Maybe they're just living off the mentality of a man chooses, a slave obeys.
oh my gosh.
It's
And they're
unbelievable.
being man about it. They're like, you know what?
No, I'm telling you, Vladimir Putin is a milk first.
He is totally. He's an only milk. He only
Cereal first makes sense, but
he-
nah.
He's got a dry bowl and a wet bowl. One with milk, one with cereal.
Yeah. He only drinks milk by the bowl and
I
does
will
it.
say,
And then he probably dips his bagel in it or something. The sick
my
fuck.
God.
No, I will say that I'm not going to name names, but I know somebody from college that would put a spoonful of dry cereal in their mouth and then take a sip of milk.
I can fuck with that. No, I don't diss that. Don't diss that.
Now, the thought process was their favorite cereal was Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and they were concerned that it would get soggy if it sat. So they kept it. They said every bite was crunchy, milky, creamy, and cinnamony. And I just
that just seems like too much work. Like, bro,
and I was just like, yeah, man, I'm just gonna eat the cereal super fast.
Yeah,
Like,
that is way too much effort.
What did that person grow up to be? Because it had to be something that was just that person.
Optometrist.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, just like obsessed with like the tiny little measurements and stuff like that. That doesn't sound like a. Anyway, no offense to optometrists. I know we have a big
shout out to the optometrist.
We always end up shitting on some large group of people every episode. In this week's it's optometrists.
All right, guys, tune in next week to see who we shit on next week.
Yeah, exactly.
We're coming for you.
Yeah, we're coming for you. So no one is safe, and
you know who we got? You know who's up next?
Who's on the chopping block next?
Those crazy motherfuckers that think a hot dog is a sandwich.
Oh man, now that's a
real
discussion.
thing.
We will discuss that next time because that's going to be a whole thing. Okay, guys. So let's thank you, dear baby listener, for listening in on our discussion of Bioshock. I hope you had a good time. Maybe laughed, maybe cried, maybe learned something, maybe caught a viral disease. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm very tired. I've been up since 5 a.m, and we've been recording.
I'm so tired, bro.
Borderline 4 hours. So I'm a little delirious. Next week we will be discussing Disco Elite. What's up? Next month.
Week?
Next
oh
month.
My God, please not next week.
Next
episode.
Year. Sometime in the next century, we're going to discuss the game Disco Elysium, an indie darling that is pretty darn good. You can catch us. This show is made in association with the network. You can find our shows and other great shows at bicbp-radio.com. We have multiple socials, so you can find us at Goat Games Pod at Twitter. On Twitter, we have an email at goatgamespodcast@gmail.com. And you can find all of our various Twitches. They'll be in the episode description if you want to come follow any of us there. We've also started a YouTube channel. There you can find the first few episodes of me and Rat Parade dicking around, and hopefully we'll be getting some of the other Goat Games crew in on that shortly. Maybe I don't know how that's working.
Yeah, we'll be posting podcast episodes on the YouTube, but also a sort of side note is we'll be doing some kind of let's plays on not so much Goat Games, but more just playing games and having fun. So it'll be a good time.
Yeah, mediocre games. Which is not just okay games, just UATs. Okayest of all time. UATs games. Where we just kind of dick around, shoot the shit, and be silly and play games. Is there any other things I'm missing as far as announcements?
We love you. That's an announcement.
I love you. We love you.
Yeah.
We love you.
Most of us here love you. There's some people we don't want to talk about, but
yeah, some people are against you, listener. But most of us love you. In a very healthy parasocial way. Okay. All right, y'all. Till next time. GG's. Burp, 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 burp. Burp, 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 burp. Burp, 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 burp. Burp, burp.
oh yeah, I Google search Zach all the time.
I mean, you're not gonna find anything.
I mean, look at his fucking beard, dude. Like, how do you not?
It's beautiful.
It's a beautiful beard. He's got me beat.
It's so lush.
It's so sad.
This is day 4.
Fucking Figgy's even got me beat. Jesus.
Yeah, man, you baby face.
We should have delayed this by like 2 weeks. I would have got you guys both beat.
My beard's not ready for the recording. The people will be able to hear my beardlessness.
Exactly.
Is that light behind me going to give you a migraine? Should I move it? The lights in my ceiling fan have died, so I'm using that.
No, it's fine.
I'm fine with it. I don't look at you anyway. I just like to have you on camera for the power play, just to know that, like,
He wants to know that
So-
asses are in the seat.
So you can see that I'm not looking at you.
exactly.
I pretend everybody's naked.
Yeah, so I can pretend you're naked. Yeah.
I don't have any pants on. Prove it.
I'm in my pajamas. I got my little Baby Yoda pajamas on. That's right. It's just Baby Yoda's on the dick.
Ooh.
Hello.
Wow.
It's more like a Baby Yoda banana hammock. No, we can talk about bugs. I mean, that's kind of gameplay.
I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss that because I got some.
Dude, can you not eat?
Listen,
okay.
you can cut this out, okay?
No, but you're talking and making points while you have a mouthful of fajita.
These aren't podcast-worthy points, okay?
That's a pizza. You didn't look? Come on, dude.
Oh, now I'm hungry.
Oh, jeez, he's just eating the whole.
Oh.
He just unhinged his jaw and shoved an entire fajita into it. That was just.
Isn't that pizza?
I don't know.
I thought it was a calzone.
No, it's pizza. I saw it. Don't think your boy was looking at that pizza when he walked in the screen. I was like, oh.
Okay.
I mean, Steve is from the state of New York. He probably has very strong opinions on pizza.
I do. Pizza's a religion around here.
I can imagine. Well, I call pizzas Italian fajitas, so I'm still right.
I'm gonna build my own rapture, and it's just gonna be based off pizza. I chose the impossible. I chose pizza.
No, says the Hutt. Pizza belongs to the Book It. No, says Papa John's.
Book It. Oh, Book It gamers.
That's right, Book It gamers.